This is the multi-voice text-to-speech podfic reading of With Open Hearts by Crabapple, composed by Burning Aurora, Kaliana, and Flowerhawk. Remus was wrapping presents on the floor of their room when Sirius entered. He had been putting John to bed in the small room downstairs that previously had been used as Remus's tutoring space and office. Sirius gently sniffed near the upper right corner of his worn t-shirt collar and then pulled away, mouth pulled into a grimace. Remus tucked a smile away that Sirius saw anyway and cut off a piece of bright red ribbon.
"You know, Moony, we are wizards,"
Sirius said, pulling off his shirt, throwing it into the hamper, and then fishing out a new one from the chest of drawers.
You know, Padfoot, I keep telling you not to give John a full bottle, so he won't spit up the last little bit of it onto you before bed, but you continue not to listen to me about that, so I'll continue to wrap presents the Muggle way if I feel like it.
Remus said airily, using the edge of the scissors he was holding to curl the ribbon on top of the gift.
"But he always seems so hungry,"
Sirius said, coming to sit next to Remus on the floor.
He is not.
Remus said, laughing a little.
Kid already ate his weight in solids at dinner. He's fine.
It's just a little bit of spit up."
Sirius shrugged. He watched as Remus finished fluffing the now bundle of ribbon on top of the snitch-decorated wrapping paper.
"You are a little bit of a ninja master with those scissors, though. It is kind of fascinating to watch."
Mum taught me.
Remus said, setting the package aside.
"My mother taught me to let the house elves do it, so now you know the extent of my gift-wrapping training."
Sirius said. Remus laughed.
That shouldn't be what's getting you out of present wrapping duty.
"I'm not trying to get out of anything.
Sirius protested.
I helped with some of Hope's gifts."
You made a mess with Hope's gifts. There's a reason we had to charm the makeup set back together after you finished your attempt.
Sirius huffed.
"Giving that child makeup."
Remus eyed him.
I half think you did it on purpose.
"I didn't.
Sirius protested and huffed again as Remus raised a skeptical eyebrow.
I'm just saying she's still a kid."
She's a 15-year-old girl.
Remus said.
It was a little bit of blush and lip gloss. She's hardly painting herself up for a night on the town.
"Hermione doesn't wear makeup."
Sirius rejoined.
Hope doesn't wear much, and she's not Hermione. We discussed what we thought was reasonable and acted accordingly.
"I'm not trying to retread the argument, Moony."
Sirius said, picking up a black velvet box from where it sat near his knee. Remus sighed.
Me either.
He said,
She's just...
"Growing up
Sirius finished for him.
doesn't mean I have to like it."
Remus picked up the Gryffindor red paper for the box Sirius held.
Yes. Well, I don't have to be thrilled with it myself, but here we are.
Sirius handed him the box, and Remus began measuring the wrapping paper out around it.
"I'm not ready, Remus."
Sirius said. Remus cut off a piece of wrapping paper.
Yet here we are.
He said again.
Can't stop her from growing up. Harry either.
Remus grabbed a piece of tape and used it to join the two ends of the wrapping paper.
17, 15.
Sirius said.
And 1.
Remus laughed.
3 birthdays in about the span of a month was not the brightest idea we ever had.
Sirius replied. Remus laughed again.
We planned none of them.
True. At least we can blame Benji Fenwick's Halloween party of 1980 for Harry.
Sirius thought.
And Neville.
He laughed, and he caught Remus's slightly rueful eye roll. He continued to watch Remus wrap the black velvet box, carefully folding the paper before securing it with tape and ribbon. Remus saw him watching, caught his eye, and smiled.
"Think you'll like it?"
Sirius asked softly. Remus finished, holding the now wrapped box in his hands.
Yeah, you did good, Padfoot.
Sirius nodded. It was the traditional wizarding birthday gift for a boy turning 17, of age, a watch. Sirius had fretted over the decision most of the spring. James's watch, Remus had told him, had been buried with him, and Sirius was not eager to disturb the dead, and certainly not over this. Had James been alive, Sirius strongly suspected he would have insisted on a new watch for Harry, and Sirius was going to honor both of them. Sirius's own watch had been given to him by Fleamont Potter, and was also long lost, this time to Azkaban. Remus refused to say where his had gone, the one Sirius remembered being a surprise. He could still hear the soft, small gasp Remus had made when he had opened it, not expecting his parents to be able to afford one for him. Still, Lyle had sent the owl the day of Remus's 17th birthday. Sirius suspected Hope, and Lyle had saved for months, if not years, to afford that watch, a fine golden one that Sirius saw on Remus's wrist nearly every day until October of 1981. Remus's own refusal to acknowledge where the watch had gone when Sirius asked about it under the guise of wondering if it might be worth it to pass it on to Harry, made Sirius strongly suspect that Remus had sold it long ago, and he swallowed now slightly against the edges of his own guilt. So Sirius had spent much of his spring and early summer looking for a watch for Harry, finally settling on a simple silver one with an inscription on the back of the face. For Harry, from your forever family, James, Lily, Sirius, Remus, Hope, and John. July 31st, 1997.
17.
Sirius said softly.
17.
Remus agreed, setting the watch with the other presents. Harry's party was tomorrow, set to start in the early evening, as was traditional for a more mature grown-up gathering. Andromeda Tonks and Molly Weasley were both coming to the cottage in Wales early to help set up the back garden, and Harry had invited a few friends, including Hermione, Ron, Fred, George, Ginny, Neville, and Luna.
He'll be of age.
Sirius sighed.
He's going to want to join the Order.
Remus nodded. They had been discussing this for the past few months, too.
And likely Hermione and Ron. Neville. Hermione and Ron have been of age for a while now.
They've been waiting for Harry.
Sirius said, and Remus sighed in agreement.
We can't stop him.
Remus said.
Merlin knows all the arguing in the world won't stop him. We will just have to see him through as best we can.
Sirius shook his head.
Do you have the feeling Dumbledore has been waiting for this?
They had talked about this too, and once again Remus nodded, blew out a slow breath.
Yes. Not that the memories of Tom Riddle haven't been fascinating, but we've been in a holding pattern for a while now.
Sirius nodded. Voldemort had been unusually quiet the last year, except for the sudden and violent kidnapping of Ollivander, which no one had been able to explain or solve, though Sirius once again suspected Dumbledore of having more information than he was letting on. In preparation for the sure-to-be upcoming confrontations, Dumbledore had been sharing memories of who Voldemort used to be, Tom Riddle, with the Order, as Order members continued to track known or suspected Death Eaters through Sirius's map. Those who had previously been contained during the battle at the Department of Mysteries had been quickly broken out of Azkaban again, to no one's surprise. And those were just the most fanatical followers, those known to be Death Eaters, those who Sirius strongly suspected to be hiding in plain sight, like Lucius and Narcissa Malfoy, still walked free, going about their daily lives. If he was honest, Sirius found little about Riddle that was compelling. Riddle had had a difficult life, yes, but then so had Remus. So had he, for that matter, and neither of them had become soulless sociopaths. Sometimes the fact was that evil was just evil for the sake of it, Sirius thought, with no deeper empathy or life lesson needed. Remus broke him out of his thoughts by taking his hand.
Come on, Padfoot. Let's try to finish this and get some sleep. Godric knows I half expect Molly Weasley to show up here at 8 in the morning with more food than we would need for 10 parties. Not that I don't appreciate it, but there are limits.
Limits to your personal patience.
Sirius laughed.
Say it isn't so, Moony.
I have a feeling you know all about the limits of all of my different kinds of patience.
Remus said, laughing. Sirius raised an eyebrow.
I could try testing some of it tonight.
He trailed off, deepening his voice for effect, and he had the satisfaction of seeing Remus flush a little in the lamplight.
Only if you help me clean up the wrapping paper and ribbon,
Remus said lightly, picking up the scissors and ribbon as he went. Sirius rolled his eyes and pulled his wand from his back pocket.
Wizards, Moony.
He said, sending the wrapping paper and supplies into the box. Remus kept them in with a spell and the flick of his wand.
Cheater,
Remus said, but he didn't protest when Sirius moved the box aside and kissed him. Molly Weasley did not arrive in Wales at 8 in the morning, but as Remus surveyed the progress they had made in the back garden, he was glad she had popped up well before noon. She had brought plenty of food, of course, he was right about that, but when she wasn't busy in the kitchen, she had helped him and Sirius transfigure and set up picnic tables to make one long table, string crepe paper and lights between and among the trees and bushes, and charm snitches, balloons, and other decorations. Watching Molly and Andromeda work, Remus was reminded briefly of his own mother, who, prior to her death, would always decorate the house or garden, wherever they were, to make Remus's March birthday special. Molly had also brought her children along with her, and they were crowded in Harry's room. Remus could occasionally hear rowdy laughter, or sometimes moans and groans, and he imagined they were busy being test subjects for the latest Weasley Wizarding Wheezes products. A particularly loud groan came, sounding out of Harry's open window, and Remus smiled, wondering what in the world had elicited that noise. Molly caught his eye, and she smiled as he scooped John off the grass, where he had been busy chewing on some scraps of crepe paper they hadn't quite managed to pick up yet. Remus fished around in his gummy mouth with a finger, pulling out some gold paper. He grimaced a bit and wiped his finger on his trousers. Molly laughed.
No child ever died from eating some paper, Remus,
Molly said. Andromeda looked up and over from where she had been helping set the table.
This one won't either.
Remus said easily, bouncing John on his hip a bit and eliciting a giggle for his trouble. He smiled broadly at John, which earned him another giggle.
You know, I planned for that child to be my dinner companion.
Andromeda said lightly.
I may have to fight Molly over him, but I'm a black. I fight dirty.
Molly laughed.
We can share.
She offered.
Arthur won't mind.
Neither will Ted.
Andromeda answered.
Deal.
Do you see what you're doing already?
Remus asked John rhetorically, and John grinned at him.
Grown women are already fighting over you.
This time it was Andromeda who laughed.
Have you seen him? Look at that face.
She said, gesturing with the fork she was holding.
Besides, and I don't care if Sirius hears me or you tell him, he looks just like Sirius did, and I am just, mind you, barely old enough to remember Sirius at that age.
Remus smiled.
I'm well aware I tend to just produce carbon copy blacks.
He said wryly, and Andromeda laughed again.
We purebloods are serious about the genes.
Andromeda answered.
How Hope managed to get your eyes, I'll never know.
Me either, honestly.
Remus said as Sirius emerged from the house.
Know what?
Sirius asked, snagging John from Remus, rewarded for his efforts by a loud
Pa.
from John. Sirius grinned.
Yes, Pads, good job.
He smacked a kiss to John's cheek, which only made the baby giggle again. Remus smiled softly and caught Molly making eye contact with him, smiling too.
We were wondering how Hope got my eyes, when all I do is produce serious black clones.
He said.
For the record, that's completely unfair, considering how much of the work I put in, which is to say, all of it.
Both Molly and Andromeda laughed.
They're not my clones.
Sirius protested, still grinning at John. Remus rolled his eyes and Andromeda laughed.
Blacks through and through, at least by the look of them.
Andromeda said, and Molly and Remus both nodded. Sirius looked over at her.
It would give my mother a stroke and kill her dead if she weren't already at how they came into this world, looking like me or not, and I cannot tell you how much I love that.
Sirius said gleefully. In response, John grabbed a fistful of Sirius's black hair, the same that grew on his own head, and pulled.
Ow, hey, gentle buddy.
Sirius said, disentangling the fist from his hair. As if on cue, Hope emerged from the back door, paperback in hand.
Love what?
She asked.
How much my mother would hate the fact I didn't produce pure blood children with an equally cold and pure-blooded witch.
Sirius answered easily, turning a little to face her.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Hope drew out her words intentionally. She sounded every bit noble, dry, and sarcastic.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Sirius repeated, still a little gleeful, Remus thought.
Mrs. Weasley? Mrs. Tonks? Do you need help out here?
Hope asked politely, looking around at the table and the decorations.
I think I speak for Molly too, when I say, call us Molly and Andromeda, even Andy.
Andromeda said, and Molly nodded. Molly also surveyed the back garden, as did Remus. It looked simple, elegant, and perfectly in tune with a small party for a child on the verge of growing up.
I think we are good here, Hope, but thank you for offering.
Molly said.
Go read your book if you want, love.
Remus said, gesturing to the hammock between two trees toward the end of the property that Sirius had put up last summer and that Hope loved to read in. Hope nodded.
Well, let me know if you change your minds.
She said. Before she could get too far away, Sirius asked.
Hey, Hope, do you know what they are doing up there?
Hope grinned.
I've been sworn to secrecy.
Sirius shot her a look.
What?
Hope asked innocently.
It's not like Fred and George sell anything illegal.
She said.
Although,
She started with a sly grin.
You know, I'm sorry I asked. I've decided I don't want to know.
Sirius said, and Remus grinned, throwing a look at Molly, who was looking torn between pride and wariness.
good call.
Hope said, walking down the slight hill, the hem of her flowery sundress swaying around her ankles as she went. Remus watched Sirius watch her go, and gave him a knowing look. Remus noted with some interest. Andromeda was giving Sirius a similar look.
Speaking of looking like a black,
Andromeda said.
What?
Sirius said, glancing away from Hope into Andromeda.
That one's going to be a heartbreaker.
Molly supplied, and Andromeda and Remus nodded along with her.
All due respect, but bite your tongue.
Sirius said, bouncing John on his hip a little.
I've already heard Lawrence Middleton still hasn't been the same since she politely said she wanted to stay friends after they had tea the last Hogsmeade weekend of the year.
Remus noted. Sirius threw him a dark look.
We don't talk about that, Moony.
Sirius said.
You don't talk about it.
Remus said easily.
Isn't going to stop it from happening.
Molly nodded.
Is she already dating?
Remus saw Sirius visibly wince, he answered.
Not really. A couple of invites on Hogsmeade weekends, but she's still young.
Andromeda cocked her head at Sirius.
This really bothers you.
She noted.
It didn't bother you with Tonks.
Sirius countered. Andromeda shared a glance with Molly and shrugged a little.
It's a part of growing up.
She said.
I'll admit, though, that Tonks is a lovely young woman. Always has been, but she doesn't look like...
Andromeda trailed off.
Like,
Sirius asked.
Like she stepped off the runway at Diagon Alley's Fashion Week.
Andromeda finished. Sirius glared a little bit, but Andromeda just shrugged. Remus watched the cousins face off, knowing Andromeda could more than handle Sirius. He could pinpoint the moment Sirius relented, knowing the sigh was coming before it made its way out of Sirius.
I'm not ready.
Sirius admitted, and Molly came around the table to pat his arm.
None of us really are, dear.
Molly said.
Don't think it doesn't worry me about Ginny, or my boys even. Charlie used to keep me up at night. It'll get easier.
Sirius nodded, almost visibly shook himself.
Thanks, Molly, I hope so.
He looked down at where John was fisting his shirt with a hand.
I'm going to take this one inside, clean him up a bit for the party.
Remus nodded as Sirius turned around and walked back into the house, John giggling as they went. Andromeda looked over at Remus.
It's really getting to him, isn't it?
She asked him, brow furrowed a bit. Remus nodded, looked from Andromeda to Molly and back again. He sighed.
It is. Me too, to a certain extent. She's just turned 15. And you're right, she's...
Absolutely gorgeous.
Andromeda supplied and Remus nodded.
I don't think that's really Sirius's problem, though.
Remus said thoughtfully.
He won't talk much to me about it, but if I had to guess, I would say it's that he's really had so relatively little time with her. She's gone from a child to a young woman in just a few years and, well, I think it seems sudden to him, even though it's really not. I've had a front row seat for the whole process, and I've gone through all the transitions with her before, from infant to toddler to child. It's a lot to me, but to me, it's one more. For Sirius,
Remus sighed.
it's one of the biggest to make as a parent, and it's really his first. This isn't your normal, my kid is growing up stuff to him. It feels more like...
Remus stopped.
Grief.
Andromeda said, and Remus nodded, even against the lump that had suddenly formed in his throat.
Yes,
He said simply.
I think so.
There was silence in the garden as Remus, Molly, and Andromeda were all lost in their own thoughts for a moment.
Harry doesn't help.
Remus said softly, and Molly looked at him.
Don't get me wrong. Harry is wonderful and we love him dearly. But Harry's turning of age and what he's about to face.
Remus shook his head.
No one should have to face what Harry's about to, and especially not a 17-year-old.
Molly looked serious.
All of them are going to sign up for this, aren't they?
She said softly.
Fred, George, Ron, I think they've been waiting.
She stopped. Remus saw Andromeda's hand find Molly's arm and squeeze reassuringly. He nodded, then sighed.
The good thing is, they won't be alone. They'll have each other and us.
Andromeda said softly.
Yes, they will.
Remus said.
And I know from experience that's no small thing.
He said as the incongruent sound of sudden, childish laughter poured out of Harry's window once again. Remus took one last look out the window at the back garden. They had left the lights and decorations up, and he could see the light in the wizarding tent was still on where Harry, Hermione, and Ron were spending the night. He turned toward their bed, where Sirius had a mug of hot chocolate and a book, the same one Hope had finished reading before Harry's party, and then handed off to Sirius with a simple,
You'd like this one.
He smiled.
I think Harry had a good birthday.
He said, climbing into bed and picking his cup of tea off the nightstand. Herbal, orange. Sirius looked up.
I think so too.
He smiled.
Seemed to like the watch.
Remus continued to smile.
I saw him try to hide those tears.
Me too.
Sirius said. He laughed softly.
I don't think he was as successful as he wanted to be, but we won't tell him that.
Remus shook his head.
Not during your toast either, Padfoot.
Sirius smiled.
I worked bloody hard on that. It would be disrespectful of the kid not to be grateful.
Remus nudged him with his elbow.
You improvised it, and I'll never tell Harry that, who was plenty grateful.
Yeah.
Sirius said softly.
Let us take a moment to raise our glasses to the man of the hour, Harry James Potter. Harry, I was there when you were born. Not in the room, of course, but just outside, having gotten a frantic owl from your father, followed by a much more reasonable one from your mother. I thought my heart would burst when I saw you, but then I saw the look on James's face, and I knew my heart would only grow bigger, because James's heart was already gone, into your tiny hands. He and Lily loved you and each other with all of themselves, and it has been my honor since the moment you were born to love you as your godfather. I may spoil you with gifts of brooms, or with attention, but never with love, because you deserve all the love in the world, and more than I can ever give you. I said a couple of years ago that I'm not James, and I couldn't replace James, nor would I want to. That's still true, but I am, always, your Sirius, your Padfoot, and your family is mine, and mine yours. You have grown into a mature, kind, good-hearted, moral, amazing young man, and I cannot wait to see the kind of person you will continue to grow into. The world is lucky to have you in it, Harry Potter, and I am even luckier to have you in my life. So let's toast to Harry Potter, godson, friend, brother, to Harry.
Remus took Sirius's hand.
You did good, Padfoot, with the toast, and with Harry. James and Lily would be so proud of both of you.
Sirius looked up toward the ceiling, and Remus saw him blink back tears.
I miss them.
He said softly.
They should have been here.
I do too,
Remus said.
and yes, they should be.
I'm going to continue to make sure Harry's safe. For them.
Sirius said softly. Remus brought Sirius's hand up to his mouth and kissed his knuckles.
I'd expect nothing less.
He said gently. As Remus could have predicted, their next order meeting a week and a half later was much more crowded than usual. The kitchen at Grimmauld Place was fuller than it had been in years. In addition to the usual members, Harry and his friends had also joined, sitting at the table or in chairs they had moved or transfigured from various items in the house. Now among their numbers were Harry, Ron, Hermione, Fred, George, Neville, and Luna Lovegood. Bill and Charlie Weasley had joined earlier in the year, as had the now Fleur Weasley. Mundungus Fletcher had made good on his promise, as had Arabella Figg. Even Minerva McGonagall was present. Remus had known she was an official member, but she usually kept Hogwarts afloat when Dumbledore was on order business. Dumbledore sat at the head of the table now, surveying the growing crowd. He tapped his wand against the table, and it issued a clear, chiming sound, like a bell. The sound stopped the polite chatter of the people around him.
I see we have many new members.
Dumbledore said, needlessly to Remus's thinking, but Remus also saw Alistair Moody looking over the new crowd.
I know all of you are young.
We're all of age.
Harry interrupted. Dumbledore inclined his head.
Exactly as I was going to say, Mr. Potter. Harry,
He paused.
I know this is unusual, especially for our longer-term members, but I believe it is necessary. Harry, I want you to essentially set the agenda for tonight's meeting. What do you think you need to know?
Remus heard Sirius take a breath next to him, but otherwise the room was deathly quiet.
I want to know the full prophecy.
Harry said. Dumbledore nodded.
I thought you might.
He said,
I'd like to remind everyone that while I think the prophecy has set events in motion, there are ways to affect it, ways we have already thought of, and ways we have not. The prophecy was made to me by Sybil Trelawney in early 1980. I was interviewing her for a position at Hogwarts. It was not going well until she went into something of a trance and said this. I took it seriously. I think Voldemort did as well, though he only heard a part of it. But I can recall the entire thing, as it was made to me. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal, but he will have power the Dark Lord knows not, and either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord will be born as the 7th month dies.
Silence descended in the room, and it was Neville who broke it, not Harry.
I was also born at the end of July, to parents who...
He stopped. Harry looked at him.
Indeed, Mr. Longbottom,
Dumbledore said.
both the Longbottoms and the Potters were expecting children at the end of July. Indeed, both boys, you and Harry.
So why?
Neville asked, looking down.
It's not like my parents didn't pay a price.
He said softly. Remus's hand found Sirius's underneath the table.
Because I think
Dumbledore said softly.
Voldemort saw more of himself in Harry, in a child who would be a half-blood, like him. Neville, you are a pure blood. Tom Riddle, who would become Voldemort, was a half-blood, and I think that he targeted the Potters for that reason. Whatever his reasons, he targeted the Potters. In that way, he created his own destiny through his actions.
And mine.
Harry said.
Harry,
Dumbledore started, but Harry shook his head.
No matter what happens from now on, Voldemort set those events in motion. He murdered my parents. He gave me
Harry lifted his fringe, showing the scar on his forehead to the group.
this. He gave me this. He and you
And here Harry's eyes found Dumbledore.
sent me to my aunt and uncle until Sirius.
Harry stopped again. Sirius opened his mouth as if he were going to speak, but Remus saw him close it again.
So how do I vanquish him? And how has he marked me as his equal? Through my scar. And what is the power I know that he does not?
Remus saw Hermione shift in her seat, looking like she might answer, but as with Sirius, she eventually chose not to speak.
Harry, I don't have many real answers, not to the first part. I do think when his spell rebounded at Godric's Hollow and you received your scar, that more events were set in motion. I think some of them Voldemort didn't anticipate. For one, there is one thing your mother gave you, and that people in your life continue to give you, that Tom Riddle and Voldemort know nothing about. Your mother's sacrifice ensured it that night.
Harry looked over, not to Ron or Hermione, but to Sirius and Remus.
Love.
He said.
My mother's love protected me. That's what I still receive. From
He stopped, swallowing.
my family. From my friends.
Now he did look at Hermione and Ron, Neville and Luna, the Weasleys.
Yes, Harry, I believe so.
Dumbledore said softly. Sirius sighed next to Remus, and Remus saw he was holding back tears, as Remus himself was. This time Hermione did speak up.
But how did Voldemort know about the prophecy if Professor Trelawney spoke it to you, and then it was destroyed at the Department of Mysteries? How did Voldemort know even part of it?
Remus raised an eyebrow, intrigued. To his surprise, Dumbledore looked at Snape, who looked back. He felt Sirius tense beside him, and knew Sirius hadn't missed it either.
Because I overheard part of it, and I went and told Voldemort what I had heard.
Snape said bluntly.
What?
Harry and Sirius managed at the same time.
It's no secret that I used to be a Death Eater. Once I realized Voldemort was targeting the Potters, I came to Dumbledore. I have been loyal to him ever since.
Snape said.
But Lily was your friend.
Remus started to say slowly. Sirius turned his head to look at him. Harry was flushed and breathing hard. Snape looked in Remus's direction but didn't actually meet his eyes.
I know, I asked Voldemort to spare her.
Harry's voice shook.
He tried. He told her to stand aside. He was going to kill me, but he told her to step aside.
The whole room turned to look at Harry.
Harry,
Remus asked softly.
When the Dementors got close, when Sirius was on the run, I could hear it. Probably a memory. I could hear my dad telling my mum to take me and run. He would hold him off. I could hear my mum begging for my life.
Harry paused, shook his head as if shaking out the thoughts.
He would tell her to step aside. She didn't.
Harry,
Sirius said. Harry ignored him, looked at Snape.
My dad was already dead. He offered to spare my mum, but not my dad. Or me. Did you ask him about that?
Remus could tell from the look on Snape's face that he had not, and apparently so could Harry and Sirius. Looking around the room, probably so could everyone else. Ron was breathing almost as hard as Harry and was flushed. Arthur Weasley was looking down, and Kingsley Shacklebolt was looking into the fire. Andromeda was watching Sirius.
how could you?
Sirius asked.
You and James?
Snape started.
What James or I did or did not do when we were teenagers has nothing to do with letting Lily Potter's husband and son die, if it was convenient to your Dark Lord.
Sirius said with deadly efficiency.
I loved her.
Snape said softly. And even through his anger, Remus could see what that admission was costing him, his most private thoughts on display for the entire order.
No, you called her a mudblood and joined the very people willing to exterminate people like her. You would have let James die. And Harry. James loved her. James died. James told her to take their son and run. James died protecting his family.
Sirius was breathing so hard that even Remus's hand on his was doing nothing.
James Potter.
Snape started.
Enough.
Harry shouted. The room went silent immediately.
You think Sirius didn't tell me? You think Remus didn't tell me? What it was like? How they were? They're not proud of it.
Harry snapped.
Remus. He wanted me to understand, to know why you treated me the way you did. And I know. I grew up with. You don't know what I grew up with. But this.
Harry shook his head, and Remus saw Hermione put a hand on his arm.
If I may, I think we may have gotten a bit off track,
Dumbledore said. Remus felt Sirius draw a breath next to him and squeezed his hand. Harry's head turned toward him.
Voldemort has been operating without the entire prophecy. He went to the ministry to find it, and well.
Remus did smile a bit, thinking of how Hope had broken the prophecy at Voldemort's feet.
Do you think I have to kill him? Or be killed?
Harry asked softly, and Remus's heart wrenched a bit at a newly minted 17-year-old Harry even having to ask that question.
Harry, I don't know. I suspect Voldemort has tried to make that more complicated. Has been trying for even longer than he has been targeting you.
What does that mean?
Ted Tonks asked quietly but clearly. In response, Dumbledore took a ring out of the pocket of his robes. The stone had been removed, but the ring itself could barely be called that anymore, a twisted, blackened thing that almost looked alive on the table. Remus saw Tonks recoil instinctively at the sight of it.
Have any of you heard of a Horcrux?
Dumbledore asked the room, but he looked at Remus as he said it, as if he expected an answer from his defense against the dark arts professor. Unfortunately, Remus drew a shaky breath because he did have one.
I have.
He said,
In my profession, in my research.
He took another breath and felt more than saw Sirius's gaze on him. Dumbledore nodded.
I suspected as much,
he said. Remus thought he would be sick and swallowed hard.
Mooney.
Professor Dumbledore,
Remus asked.
A Horcrux is, to put it simply, an object that holds a fragment of a person's soul.
Dumbledore said. There was more than one gasp in the room and some muttering.
I believe Voldemort, since he was quite young, has been interested in immortality. By creating Horcruxes, he has been betting on continuing to be immortal, no matter what the prophecy or even life may offer him.
Doesn't it take an extreme act of violence to create a Horcrux?
Moody asked.
It's the most extreme act of dark magic I can imagine. I have never encountered or experienced it in the field.
Tonks looked at him while Dumbledore nodded.
A Horcrux is created by vicious violence, as you say, usually murder. It breaks off a piece of the person's soul that the person can then tie to an object.
Dumbledore explained. Remus looked at Molly Weasley, who was looking at the ring on the table, and looked like she was about to vomit. She stole a glance at her sons who were present.
Is that one?
Molly asked.
I believe it was, yes.
Dumbledore said.
There are only a few things that can destroy a Horcrux. Basilisk venom, fiend fire, and I believe the sword of Gryffindor, which has been infused with basilisk venom. Voldemort started with objects, well, that had a personal connection to him. This was his grandfather's ring.
It's a gaunt heirloom,
Sirius said suddenly.
My father, he had one that was probably similar.
Dumbledore nodded.
I know the stone had to be different, but I would not be surprised to see a version of this ring within many, if not all, of the pure blood families. I found this in the remains of the Gaunt House and was able to destroy it with fiend fire.
Suddenly Ron looked at Dumbledore.
The diary. Ginny. Ginny had Voldemort's diary in second year. Harry stabbed it with the basilisk fang.
Arthur and Molly looked over, torn between looking proud and horrified. Dumbledore inclined his head at Ron.
I think you are right, Mr. Weasley. I believe the diary was Voldemort's first attempt at a Horcrux.
So that's 2.
Remus said slowly.
How many did Voldemort make? Doesn't the soul become more unstable each time it is split?
Indeed. I would venture, according to the research I have been doing, that Tom Riddle purposely made 2 more. One, Slytherin's locket, as he was an heir of Slytherin. The other, I believe, is his snake, Nagini. That is why he keeps it close and uses it as a weapon instead of himself.
Remus looked at Arthur, who had been attacked by the snake in order to lure Harry to the Department of Mysteries. Both Arthur and Molly were looking down, pale. They looked shaken, and Remus understood how they felt. Sirius spoke up so suddenly he genuinely surprised Remus.
You said 2 more on purpose. That implies he made 1 or more by accident or luck.
I don't disagree, Mr. Black. But my thoughts about that are dark and complex. It might be best to consider the news we have.
No,
Harry said.
no more waiting. I have waited, and it has only led to near disaster every time.
Harry!
Dumbledore started, but Harry lifted his chin. It was a gesture he had picked up from Hope, and it made Remus's heart beat quickly in pride.
Professor,
Harry said.
Harry!
Dumbledore said.
The prophecy says he marked you as his equal. I do believe he made that, at least, fulfill itself.
No.
Sirius said suddenly, and Remus's heart beat faster again, and this time not with pride. Harry looked to Sirius and Remus, and then to Dumbledore.
It's me. You think I'm a Horcrux?
Not all of you, Harry. Not even remotely all of you, just a part, a small part. But do I suspect that your mother's murder caused Voldemort to break off another piece of his soul accidentally, and that it became embedded in you? Yes, Harry, I do.
It's how I can see things. Like his snake attacking Mr. Weasley.
Dumbledore nodded. There was deep, uncomfortable silence in the kitchen.
But Harry, I believe you are fully your own person. You must believe that.
Dumbledore said. Harry nodded slowly. He took a breath.
I think I will need, some time.
He struggled. Dumbledore inclined his head.
Would you like to adjourn for the evening? Perhaps we could reconvene in a week's time, just before the start of term.
Harry nodded.
Then I ask all of you, of course, to keep this information completely confidential, and we will meet here, again, in a week.
Dumbledore said, drawing the meeting to a close. Harry, Remus, and Sirius were the last to get ready to flew out. Hermione and Ron had gone just ahead of them to the cottage in Wales, where they would be spending the night. There had been a short argument between Arthur, Molly, and Ron about Ron coming back to the burrow, but Ron had insisted on returning tomorrow, and Molly had reluctantly agreed. She had given him a kiss on the cheek that he did not rebuff in any way before she left.
Harry,
Dumbledore said softly.
With all due respect, Professor, I have had enough for tonight.
Harry said honestly. Dumbledore smiled.
Indeed, I respect that. I merely wanted to offer you my sincerest congratulations on your birthday.
Dumbledore again reached into his pocket and pulled out a gift. Remus saw Harry smile a bit as he took it.
Thank you, sir,
Harry said.
Harry, what you will find inside? Well, it actually contains 2 things. The first, you will find it quite familiar, and I hope it will be comforting. The second, well, it is inside. And that, I ask you to refrain from opening. I am quite sure you will know when the time comes to open it and use it.
Harry held Dumbledore's gaze steadily, then nodded.
Congratulations, my boy,
Dumbledore said.
You are a fine, brave young man and wizard indeed.
With that, Harry took a pinch of flu powder and called out,
The Lupin Cottage, Wales,
and stepped into the flames, Sirius and Remus doing the same and following him. Hermione and Ron, having gone a little ahead, were standing on the rug in front of the fire in front of Hope, who was sitting on the couch with a book in her hands. Harry, Sirius, and Remus arrived to find them looking at each other, Hope's expression curious, Hermione and Ron's expressions both concerned and grim, on each young face.
Where's Mrs. Fields?
Remus asked Hope instinctively. Hope paused for a moment, taking in their faces, before shrugging.
I sent her home after John went down for the night. I thought she'd be just next door in case we needed anything.
You're not our built-in babysitter, Hope,
Remus said softly.
I know, it's fine.
She looked at the people around her.
What happened?
Hope? Remus started gently. Hope looked around again.
You know they'll tell me.
She said, gesturing to Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Remus heard Sirius sigh.
Harry
said abruptly.
Do you think it's okay to take a walk?
He looked at Sirius. Sirius nodded.
The area is safe. You should be fine,
he said.
That sounds like a good idea, actually.
Harry shook his head.
Alone. I need to be alone for a little while.
Ron and Hermione looked at each other, while Remus looked at Sirius.
I know, Harry,
Sirius said softly.
I meant for me. I'll go one way, you can go the other.
Harry nodded, and the two of them disappeared out the front door before anyone else could say anything. Remus sighed, a heavy sound in the silence.
Come on, Hermione.
Ron said.
The tent. We can wait for Harry to come back.
Hermione nodded.
Can I come?
Hope asked, and Remus knew she was asking him as much as she was asking Hermione and Ron. Hermione looked to Remus, who nodded.
Yeah,
Hermione said.
Let's go.
As the three of them set off toward the back, Remus called after them.
There are still butterbeers left over from the party. They are in the fridge.
Thanks, Dad.
Hope said, and Remus found himself standing alone in his sitting room.
Harry, wait.
Sirius caught up to Harry, where he was about to turn left out of the drive.
Sirius,
Harry started.
I know, Harry, I know.
Sirius stopped Harry with a firm hand on his shoulder.
Just give me a minute.
Harry turned to face him, waiting.
Harry, what I said at your birthday, all of that is still true. I want you to know that. It's still true. Maybe more than ever. Harry, you're not a bad person. You're a very good person, who bad things have happened to. Besides, the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters. We've all got both light and dark inside us. What matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are.
Sirius made sure Harry was looking at him and waited for Harry's nod.
I know who you really are, Harry,
he added.
And I think so do you.
He squeezed Harry's shoulder and then dropped his hand. Harry nodded again, and then Sirius let him go, watching as he walked away down the lane until the darkness of Wales swallowed him. Then Sirius turned and went in the opposite direction, letting Wales swallow him too. Remus let himself into John's small room and breathed deeply, the smell of freshly laundered clothing, baby powder, and baby overtaking him, soothing him. He walked over to the crib and looked down. John was asleep, still half clutching the stuffed black dog that was his near-constant companion these days, drooling a little bit onto the sheet. The crib was new from when they had brought John home a year ago, Hope's second-hand one long lost to time. Remus smiled a bit and at first just put his hand on John's back, feeling the rise and fall of his steady breathing. On impulse, he scooped him up gently, doing his best not to wake him. John did stir in his arms a bit, as Remus settled into the rocking chair he had had since before Hope was born. He settled John on his shoulder, shushing him quietly and rocking, burying his nose in John's hair, deeply inhaling his scent. John quieted quickly, falling back asleep on his father's shoulder. Remus sat there, his son in his arms, rocking gently for so long he lost track of time, until he saw a figure cross the garden and make its way into the wizarding tent. He inhaled and kept rocking. To Remus's surprise, Sirius was also back by the time he went upstairs. He was standing at the table that served as his makeshift desk, looking at the map he had charmed for the Order a couple of years prior.
Did you get an alarm?
Remus asked, and even though his voice was soft, Sirius still jumped a little bit, startled. Sirius turned toward him, hands in his pockets, and shook his head.
Padfoot,
Remus said, reaching out his hand. Sirius looked at it, but didn't take it.
He killed James. He killed James and Lily,
he said. Remus shook his head.
No, Voldemort did that,
he said simply. Sirius shook his head.
If he hadn't,
he began.
We still don't know what would have happened.
Remus said softly.
Maybe Voldemort would have found another way. Maybe he still would have been obsessed with the Potters. Maybe he would have continued to wage war with us, killing us all off one by one. We don't know.
Sirius shook his head stubbornly.
Do you think I'm defending him?
Remus asked.
There's no excuse. I'm not making an excuse for him. He was a Death Eater, and he acted accordingly.
He only cared for Lily, James.
Sirius stopped.
James was my friend too,
Remus said softly. At that, Sirius looked at him.
James was my friend too,
Remus said.
Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs.
Wormtail?
Sirius started.
Then Moony, Padfoot, and Prongs. And Evans?
Remus said, smiling.
Lily,
Sirius said.
Always was the best of us,
Remus said softly. At that, Sirius's mouth quirked into a half smile.
I don't know about that, Moony,
he said. Remus tilted his head.
We can agree to disagree.
He smiled.
Come here, Padfoot.
He said, his hand still outstretched. This time, Sirius came forward, took Remus's hand in one hand, and used the other to cup the back of Remus's head, kissing him thoroughly. Remus let him open his mouth, let Sirius's tongue explore at leisure, both unhurried and heated. Sirius broke the kiss and leaned his forehead against Remus's.
I know, in the past I've said, but
It's okay, Padfoot.
Remus said simply.
We aren't 20 anymore. What we have now, it's different. I know that. You should know it too.
Sirius nodded.
I want to be home.
Sirius said, and Remus gently kissed him on the cheek, then on the mouth again, open and searching. Sirius returned the kiss, meeting Remus's searching with certainty. Remus began to slowly back himself toward their bed, until the backs of his knees hit the side, and he let himself tumble, his grip on Sirius bringing Sirius with him. They lay like that for a while, kissing, hands wandering under shirts, until Sirius's breath began to come in shorter, harder bursts.
Can you? I want to feel you.
Sirius whispered, breathless, into Remus's mouth. Remus nodded and began taking off their clothing, piece by piece, leaving open-mouthed, hot kisses as he went. Sirius's hands were everywhere, his hair, his jaw, his back, his hips, as if he could pull Remus into his skin, into his body. Remus kissed down Sirius's neck and onto his chest, then climbed to his knees. Sirius was already flushed underneath him, a blush creeping up his chest toward his neck and face, a small blue mark already forming where Remus had sucked some of the skin at Sirius's collarbone into his mouth, biting softly. Remus cast a silencing charm, the protection charm just in case, and then the lubrication charm, watching as Sirius writhed beneath him at the feeling of the last one.
Mooney.
Sirius exhaled, head tossed back on the pillow, exposing the line of his neck. Remus leaned down and kissed along the line of that neck, tasting salt and sweat and Sirius. Sirius grabbed his arms as he went, and Remus had the brain power to wonder if he would have bruises there tomorrow.
Mooney.
Sirius breathed again.
I'm here, love. I'm here, Padfoot.
Remus said softly, capturing Sirius's mouth in a kiss before leaning away again, this time rubbing a thumb along Sirius's entrance. Sirius gasped, and Remus pushed a finger inside. When Sirius started panting, Remus added a second finger, and Sirius moaned, pushing against him. He moaned again as Remus moved his fingers in and out, crooking the pads of them until they hit that spot inside Sirius, and Sirius once again said,
Mooney.
Remus added a third finger, and Sirius pushed back harder, opening his eyes and finding Remus's in the soft lamplight of their bedroom.
Remus, Mooney, please,
he said, and Remus nodded, taking his fingers out and lining himself up, guiding himself in until he bottomed out inside of Sirius. Remus stilled, adjusting to the feeling of Sirius around him, letting Sirius adjust as well. The only sound in the room was Remus's breathing and Sirius's heavy panting. Remus pulled out almost all the way and then pushed in again, hard, and both he and Sirius groaned. Remus grasped Sirius's hips, pulling him forward and backward in time with his thrusts, and Sirius threw his head back on the pillow, his moans keeping time to the rhythm Remus was setting. Remus moved one hand to grasp Sirius's cock where it was leaking on his stomach, and Sirius moaned again.
Yes.
Sirius gasped.
You. All around. You.
He chanted, his breath beginning to come in shorter, stuttering gasps. Remus shook his head in an attempt to get his fringe out of his face, to see Sirius better.
Me, I'm here, I am, me, all of me.
Remus answered, and he felt Sirius's cock twitch in his hand, felt Sirius spill almost endlessly between them. Remus continued to stroke him even as he came himself, emptying himself into Sirius, hearing Sirius groan again at the same time Remus did. Remus waited for long minutes as their breathing slowed and he softened, gently pulling out, uttering the cleaning charm and coming up to settle beside Sirius, who instantly wrapped him into his arms, kissing him messily but softly.
I'm here, me, all of me.
Remus repeated, burying his face into Sirius's neck, inhaling his scent.
Home, I'm home, with you,
Sirius said, brushing a kiss to Remus's temple.
Forever.
Remus agreed, holding on to Sirius even tighter. Remus came downstairs the next morning to find Harry frying bacon in the kitchen, Sirius on the other side of him flipping eggs. Hermione and Ron were sitting at the kitchen table, Ron making faces at John, who was sitting in his high chair with small pieces of toast and a sippy cup of milk, giggling at Ron. Hope was pouring out tea and coffee into mugs.
Anything I can do to help?
Remus asked. Sirius and Hope threw him identical, slightly exasperated looks, and Remus suppressed a laugh. He leaned over and kissed John on the top of the head as John let out another amused squeal at Ron's newly scrunched-up face.
Got it covered, Remus.
Harry answered. He added more bacon to the plate next to the stove.
I like having all of you here.
Remus answered.
Great service,
he said as Hope pushed a mug of tea in front of him, rolling her eyes a bit at his comment. Ron stopped his entertainment for a moment, looking at Hermione first, then at Remus.
Actually, Hermione and I were wondering. Maybe we can stay until term starts. It won't be long.
Not that we want to impose.
Hermione said quickly. Remus looked at Sirius, whom he saw nod slightly, which was the answer Remus was expecting.
If it's all right with your parents, it is with us.
Remus answered.
I'll send an owl after breakfast, if that's okay.
Ron said, turning to John and pulling another face after John had grumbled a little.
That sounds fine.
Actually,
Hermione said.
Do you have a phone? My parents?
She said. Remus nodded.
I've always had one.
Remus said.
It's installed in the sitting room if you need it, Hermione.
Hermione nodded.
Yes, thank you.
She said.
They've gotten owls from me from time to time, so they know to expect that, but they're still not used to it. And of course, they don't have a flu.
My mother was a muggle.
Remus reminded her.
We always had one, and when Hope was small, we mostly lived in that world too. I needed it for all kinds of everyday business.
Remus said lightly.
He called his tutoring clients and sometimes the village doctor.
Hope said, coming to sit at the table.
Don't let him make you believe he was on there chatting away for hours.
She said.
No, love, that was you. I believe you and Megan spent more time on that phone than you did in person.
Remus smiled as Hope scowled a little bit. Sirius turned from the stove and shot an amused eyebrow raise at her.
Dad.
Hope said, attempting to swat him lightly, which he easily dodged. Harry set plates of eggs, bacon, and toast on the table, and everyone sat, tucking into breakfast.
I had actually had a thought last night about forms of communication.
Remus said, aiming for a neutral tone, reaching for some toast and then eggs. The room still became silent at his words, except for John, who was gurgling as he bit down on some toast with his very few teeth. Remus looked around.
My 7th years? Well, you'll be learning the Patronus Charm in my Newt-level defense class this year. But it's also the way that the Order tends to communicate with each other, particularly with delicate information. I thought that I might teach it to you all a bit early, and,
Remus said as Hope's mouth opened,
perhaps to other key students who might need to reach an Order member quickly.
Sirius tilted his head to the side, thinking,
Do you think Dumbledore would approve?
I think so. As I said, it is part of the 7th year curriculum, so most of the new Order members will be learning it anyway. As for the other students, we could leave it up to the discretion of their parents, if it came down to it.
Remus left it unsaid in front of the children that he didn't actually quite care if Dumbledore approved or not. He thought it was practical and necessary.
So the other students? Me, right.
Hope asked. Remus nodded. He looked at Ron.
I also thought, maybe Ginny.
A little to Remus's surprise, it wasn't Ron who nodded. It was Harry.
Yes to Ginny.
Harry said firmly. Remus saw Sirius spare a glance at him, and he raised an eyebrow slightly. Sirius nodded slightly, and Remus let it go for now. Hermione took a breath.
You know.
She said slowly.
The LA. Well, we've never stopped meeting.
She said. Remus looked at her.
You don't look surprised.
Harry noted wryly.
Because we are not.
Sirius said lightly.
Not even after the Department of Mysteries.
Harry shook his head.
Actually started to meet more.
He admitted. Remus sighed.
When would we start?
Ron asked.
I'll bring it up at the next Order meeting.
Remus said.
But if we are quiet about it, which apparently you all know how to be, I don't see why we can't start earlier.
He said, amusement bleeding into his tone.
Sounds like we have a project for the rest of the summer.
Hope said lightly, and Harry nodded. Remus and Sirius did the washing up after breakfast, as the children dispersed into the back garden, Harry, Hermione, and Ron into the tent, and Hope to the hammock with a book. John was in his high chair still, playing with a few blocks Sirius had tipped onto the tray.
Teaching them the Patronus charm is good thinking, Moony.
Sirius said, washing a mug and then handing it to Remus.
You're okay with Hope learning it?
Remus asked, setting the mug in the drying rack.
The Ministry might have something to say to us about the use of underage magic.
He mused.
I doubt we could stop her.
Sirius said, quirking his mouth at Remus.
And the Ministry can fuck right off if you ask me, and I'm sure they'll try,
he said.
True. If I don't teach her, Harry apparently will once they get back to Hogwarts.
Remus said, taking another mug.
I think it's smart,
Sirius said.
If she or any of them get into a situation.
He stopped. Remus nodded.
Ginny.
Molly and Arthur will need to approve, but I think they will, for the same reasons we are thinking about with Hope.
Sirius said.
I agree, but that's not quite what I'm asking.
Remus said.
It was Harry who spoke up about Ginny.
At that, Sirius grinned. Remus's stomach swooped a little at the bright amusement, even after all these years.
Do you really not know, Moony?
I mean, I was at the Quidditch match.
Remus said slowly, also smiling. Sirius nodded.
I do know Harry tends to talk to me more than you about this kind of thing, but…
Are they?
Remus asked, casting around for the right word.
Dating. Together. Madly in love and ready to run off into the sunset.
Sirius asked. It was on the tip of Remus's tongue to point out that Sirius would never take that tone about Hope, but he stopped himself.
Any or all of the above?
He said instead.
I think. At least the first two. There are feelings at least on both sides. I think they are taking it pretty slow, but, well, seriously. At least Harry is.
Sirius said. Remus nodded.
He's concerned for her safety,
he noted. Sirius handed him a plate.
Absolutely. I think he wants to try to protect her from a lot of this, but, well, that's going about as well with her as it is with Hope.
Remus shook his head.
I wish he could just be 17 and infatuated and enjoy it.
Sirius nodded before letting out a laugh.
Do you remember what Prongs was like with Lily at 17?
The memory surprised a laugh out of Remus.
Godric, he was an idiot.
That too,
Sirius said.
But he was completely smitten and totally in love.
Sirius shook his head.
He was ready to marry that girl.
He did marry that girl,
Remus rejoined.
And only 2 years later, by 20, they had had Harry.
They were both silent, the fact that by 21 they were dead looming in the air in front of them.
Thank Merlin she changed her mind about him,
Sirius said, shaking his head.
It was pretty insufferable.
Remus laughed again.
The monologues.
They could go on for hours.
Sirius smiled, turning off the water on the sink.
I learned very quickly to tune them out.
Remus admitted, and Sirius laughed.
Remember what we were like at 17?
Sirius asked, and Remus flushed against his will.
Matter of fact, I do.
Remus said.
I had to try really hard not to rub it in Prongs' face that while he was waiting for the love of his life to come around, I was already shagging mine senseless, and had been for a year.
How insufferable do you think we were?
Remus asked, laughing.
Pretty bad, because I was not very successful in my attempts to not rub it in James's face.
Sirius laughed too.
I'm sure you were quite bad at it.
Remus agreed, stepping closer. Sirius agreed.
Still pretty bad at it,
he said, close enough that Remus could feel his breath on his lips. Remus leaned forward enough to capture Sirius's lips with his own. A few moments later, he heard the back door open, but he didn't break the kiss.
Dad, pads.
Hope said loudly as she walked through the kitchen.
Merlin, there are children present.
She said.
For Godric's sake.
She continued as she stomped up the stairs. At that, Remus and Sirius did break apart, laughing.
I think Hope would have an opinion on how insufferable we still are.
Sirius managed, leaning against the sink. At that, John piped up and said,
Dapper.
From his seat.
Not you too,
Remus said, going over and scooping John from his high chair into his arms, and Sirius only laughed harder. Later that afternoon, Remus had gathered Harry, Hermione, Ron, and Hope into the back garden, which they had cleared of the rest of the party supplies and the tables, so it was once again a big open space.
I want to tell you now, the Patronus charm is a difficult spell, one that even many adult wizards never master. You need to be patient with yourselves. It may take you quite a while to produce a corporeal Patronus, if you ever do. If you make any progress, any light from your wand, you should consider yourself successful and on the right path. Even that may take several sessions of careful instruction.
All the children looked at Remus seriously. Hermione nodded.
First, You will need a happy memory. Remember, this spell was created to face dementors, who feed off of unhappiness and depression. So to counter that, this spell is based on happiness and joy. You will need to fix that memory in your mind, have a good grip on it, to even practice the spell. So take a moment and think, what are your happiest memories? What moments have brought you joy?
Remus walked among where the children were spread out, watching them think. Ron and Hermione's faces cleared fairly quickly, as if they had decided. Harry took longer, but he finally nodded slightly. Remus was a little surprised that Hope seemed to take the longest to think, staring at the ground and looking at the grass hard, until she finally lifted her head, looking determined.
Once you have truly fixed the memory in your mind's eye, then you can practice the incantation, Expecto Patronum. Please practice it without your wands first.
Remus heard echoes of Expecto Patronum around him. He nodded.
This spell requires the incantation, much like the memory, to be clear and precise. Practice without your wands again.
The children did so, echoes of the incantation again coming back to Remus. He took a breath.
Now, I want you to practice with your wands. Your technique will need to be good, but not as precise as your memory and your pronunciation. Make sure you have your wand firmly in hand, shoulders back and head up. But the power will be channeled through your memory and the incantation, and then through your wand, like this.
Remus held his wand out, making sure his shoulders were back and his voice was clear and precise.
Expecto Patronum,
he said loudly and clearly, and the big, silvery wolf leapt from the silver light that had begun to flow out of his wand, wandering around the garden a bit before coming back to Remus, who dismissed it with a wave of his hand.
I can teach you how to send a message with a Patronus after you produce a corporeal one. Again, this is a difficult spell, not as easy as it looks. One step at a time.
He took a breath.
Let's try, shall we? Wands out, say it with me. Expecto Patronum.
The wolf leapt from Remus's wand again, and as he circulated among the children, Remus saw Hermione produce a beam of silver light from her wand almost immediately. Ron's wand sputtered silver light, but clearly became more steady fairly quickly. Harry's light was steady but weak at first, just beginning to gain luster as the power of the incantation faded. Hope, to Remus's surprise and apparently to hers, only produced a small sliver of silver light before the light went out completely.
That was excellent.
All four heads turned to him, and Remus smiled.
No, really, this is beyond many adult wizards. Let's practice again.
Again, the children put their wands out and said the incantation. Hermione, Harry, and Ron's lights all improved, Hermione and Harry's beginning to take simple forms. Hope, however, was struggling, any light coming out of her wand weak, insubstantial, and easily extinguished. Remus had the children continue to practice for a little while longer, until, frankly, he could feel Hope's frustration beginning to impede everyone's progress. Remus smiled.
Again, that was excellent, especially for your first time.
He said he was met with 3 smiling faces and one looking down at the ground.
We will continue, but for now, I think we should end for the day.
He said. Harry, Ron, and Hermione nodded, while Hope quietly and quickly walked toward the house and through the back door. Sirius watched as Hope stalked through the sitting room, where he and John were on the floor, playing with bubbles that Sirius was producing from his wand.
Hope,
he tried, but she ignored him, continuing up the stairs. Remus walked in a few minutes later, looking pensive.
Should I ask how it went?
Sirius ventured, flicking his wand, causing more bubbles. Remus looked at him and sighed.
It actually went quite well. For Harry, Hermione, and Ron. No corporeal Patronuses, not yet, of course. Definite progress. But Hope struggled.
Remus said. Sirius's eyebrows went up in surprise.
Hope struggled. Why, I mean, it's fine that she did, but...
Sirius stopped. Remus looked toward the stairs, then back at Sirius.
I honestly don't know. It actually seemed to get harder for her as she went on.
Frustration probably got in the way too.
Sirius noted, and Remus nodded.
Do you want me to talk to her?
Remus shook his head.
No,
he said slowly.
I think it should be me, unless you mind.
He looked at Sirius. Sirius thought.
No, you were there. It should be you. I'm just...
He sighed, thought.
It's a difficult spell, and she's only 15, but it still concerns me. Not necessarily that she can't do it, but what she'll think about not being able to do it.
He finished. Remus nodded.
Me too.
He sighed.
She's not going to want to talk about it either. Her pride may be damaged, especially in front of the other kids. Not that I think they mind one bit.
Not that lot, no.
Sirius said. Remus sighed.
Let me go.
He indicated the stairs with a tilt of his head.
Good luck, Mooney.
Sirius said, watching as Remus went up the stairs after Hope. Hope's door was open, which Remus considered was a good sign, until he saw the look on Hope's face when she looked up upon hearing him. She looked caught between frustration and sadness, and Remus saw the tear tracks on her face.
Hope, love, can I come in? Can we talk?
Remus asked. He wasn't surprised when Hope shook her head no, but he came in anyway.
I think it will help,
he said, and Hope sighed. Remus took a seat on the bed next to her, and Hope scooted away from him a bit toward the wall.
Hope, it's an extremely difficult spell. This was only the first time.
Remus started, but Hope furiously shook her head, strands coming out of her French braid.
It's not that. I know it's hard. I don't care that it's hard.
Remus nodded, waiting. Hope didn't continue.
It's okay for you not to get it the first time, or the second, or the third, or...
I'll get it. I'll be able to do it.
Hope said fiercely.
I don't doubt you will.
Remus said softly. Hope finally looked at him again.
You don't.
Of course not. I know you. I know you are fully capable of doing anything you put your mind to, for any number of reasons. Your intelligence, your strength, your integrity.
To Remus's surprise, Hope's mouth set in a thin line that reminded Remus of himself.
Maybe not this,
she said softly, and Remus heard the tears in it.
Why would you think that? What happened out there?
Remus asked gently.
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Remus prompted quietly.
Tell me, I might be able to help.
Hope shook her head again.
I don't think so,
she said, and this time she spoke softly.
I do, Hope, love.
It was a long moment before Hope spoke.
I couldn't find a happy memory. Okay, I couldn't. I couldn't find a happy memory to hold on to,
she said. Of all the things she could have said, Remus had expected that one the least. He took a breath, trying to put aside the sudden rush of failure that rose up unexpectedly in him, that her life, her childhood, hadn't been happy enough to produce a happy memory. They sat for a moment in silence, each struggling for a moment, until Remus said,
Hope, do you really not have any happy memories? Nothing, not from here, or Hogwarts?
Hope shook her head again.
I have plenty of happy memories, Dad. Lots of them. From before we went to Hogwarts, and some from there. I thought about when you taught me to ride a bike, and how it felt like flying. I tried your face when I saw it at my first piano recital. I tried thinking of when I got my Hogwarts letter.
Hope, then
Remus started, but he was cut off by Hope's voice and her tears.
They don't work. They don't work, okay? They don't work because as soon as I get a hold of them, as soon as I think of them.
She paused and took a shaky breath.
As soon as I think of them, I think about how Pads wasn't there, and he should have been, and I can't. I can't hold on to it. I can't keep it happy.
Hope drew her knees up to her chest and set her head down on them, crying. Remus felt the pain in his chest as if it were literal, as if a knife had been plunged into him.
Oh, Hope,
he said, and she started to cry harder.
I even tried memories where he was there, like my 13th birthday when I got my firebolt, and even that, all that came next was all the birthdays he had missed or hearing that he was innocent. And then it's that he spent all that time in Azkaban.
Hope stopped, letting out an involuntary sob. Remus blinked back his own tears and realized it was a futile attempt. He let them fall.
Hope, love, can I give you a hug?
Hope finally relented, coming closer to Remus and letting him wrap his arms around her. They sat on her bed for a long time, until Remus got control of his own tears and Hope's breathing slowed down.
Oh, Hope, I wish I had a good answer for this. I wish with my whole heart I had a good answer for this,
he said. Hope shook her head.
I know there isn't,
she said.
I don't know what to do about it.
Hope, if I knew what to do about it, I would tell you. You're right. I don't know what to do either, I think.
Remus paused and thought.
I think it's important to acknowledge it, that that's the truth in your heart. It's valid, love. It's valid, those feelings. They are, oh, so valid. That's your experience and your truth. I tried so hard to make it so that you wouldn't have to carry something like this around. And I know it's not about me, but the truth is, you are so smart and so brilliant, and you love as epically and deeply as Pads does. And sometimes that means that you're going to get hurt. And this hurt you. And neither Pads nor I can change that for you. This hurts exactly because of how much you love him. And I wouldn't change that hope.
Remus felt Hope draw a breath against him and nod.
I do, Dad. That's just it. I do love him, but
She stopped.
I know, love. If anyone knows what it means to love Sirius Black so much, that his absence hurts even when he's present, it's me.
Hope nodded again.
so how do you deal with it?
Remus swallowed hard.
I didn't. Or not well. Not for a long time. I'll be honest about that, Hope. But eventually, I learned to try to let the good outweigh the bad. A lot of Pads, a lot of our past, it's so bittersweet even now. Not to mention when I thought.
Remus stopped.
But the one thing I couldn't do, no matter how much I wanted to, was completely close off that part of my heart. For better or for worse, I kept my heart as open as I could, and mostly that was due to you, love. But then, when he was there again, it meant my heart was back open to him too, and that gave us the life we have now, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Hope drew back from Remus's arms, wiped her face. She nodded.
Me, either.
She said quietly.
I know, love.
Remus said softly, wiping away tears from her cheek with his fingertips, and she let him.
So that's the advice I can give you now. Keep your heart open. I know it's so open already. I love that about you. So keep it open, and keep trying. At 15, it may be hard to be able to focus on just the good part. I understand that. But maybe you can try. And know, no matter what, you are extraordinary and so, so loved by me and Pads. Let the light in, okay, love? Can you try that?
Hope nodded.
I can try.
Remus smiled at her softly.
Then that's all I or anyone else can ask of you, Hope.
He said, and Hope nodded again. Eventually, Remus left Hope upstairs with her transfiguration text and made his way back to the sitting room. Sirius was now there by himself, reading, and he looked up at Remus. Remus saw him frown at whatever he must have seen on Remus's face.
John?
Remus asked quietly, reaching for the cup of tea Sirius had left warming on the coffee table and coming to sit next to Sirius on the couch.
Down for his afternoon nap. Others are in the back garden. Hope.
Upstairs, doing a bit of homework.
Remus said, taking a sip of tea. He sighed. He was dreading this conversation more than the one he had just had.
Did she talk to you?
Sirius asked.
She did.
Remus said slowly.
Remus.
Sirius said softly. Remus sighed again, ran a hand over his eyes.
She knows what the problem is. I do too. She thinks there might not be a way around it, or at least an easy way, and I don't disagree.
Mooney.
Sirius said.
Why aren't you telling me?
Remus set his mug down and turned to face Sirius.
Because it's going to hurt?
He said simply. Sirius merely looked at him.
She can't find a happy memory to sustain.
Remus said as Sirius opened his mouth, he added.
Because every memory she's thought of so far, she then remembers you aren't in it, or weren't there for it, or that you'd missed other ones related to it, or what happened to you where you actually were.
Remus heard Sirius take in a sharp breath.
Mooney,
She doesn't blame you. At all. At least not, well, I don't think she does, not consciously, but...
He paused.
She's not wrong.
Sirius's face looked like someone had leveled the Cruciatus on him, and Remus knew how it felt, almost heard the breaking of Sirius's heart in his chest from where he sat.
Oh, Godric Mooney,
he said, and it was plaintive, almost begging.
If she thinks of something from her childhood, she then remembers you weren't here for it. If she thinks of a memory with you in it, she thinks of all the other times you weren't there. And I don't. I know how she feels. And I don't have a good answer for it. I couldn't give her an answer for it.
Remus admitted. Sirius began to turn away, and Remus put his hand on his arm to stop him.
It comes down to how much she loves you, Sirius. It does. It really comes down to that. If she didn't love you so much, she wouldn't know the bitter sweetness of knowing what she had missed.
How can I fix this, Remus?
Sirius asked, and the question broke Remus's heart, for Hope, for Sirius, for all of them.
I don't think you can,
he said.
She's getting to an age. I just don't think you can. I can't. You can't. You can't bring those years back.
Remus saw the tears well in Sirius's eyes.
So what do we do?
Love her. Keep loving her. I told her to keep her heart open, so you continue to pour your love into it.
To Remus's surprise, Sirius shook his head.
I can do that, every moment of every day, but will it be enough?
I don't know.
Remus answered honestly.
I don't know.
Sirius nodded, and Remus saw the tears begin to fall.
Come, Padfoot,
he said, and for the second time that day, Remus held someone he loved with all his heart in his arms as they cried. They were getting ready for bed that night, fresh from the shower and putting on pajamas, when Sirius suddenly asked,
What memory do you use for your Patronus? You have a corporeal one, I've seen it.
Remus pulled his shirt over his head and then regarded Sirius, who had already climbed into bed.
Hope's first steps,
he said. Sirius thought.
Oh.
Remus got into bed too.
She was an early walker, which shouldn't be surprising.
Remus saw Sirius smile.
At 9 months, both the doctor and Mrs. Fields had warned me she would be, but I didn't really believe them. She'd just begun to crawl, and I thought she'd stay in that phase for a while, because when I say she was fast, she was fast. She got where she wanted to go already, and she wasn't like John.
Remus continued. John had just started taking his first toddling steps himself.
John spent a lot of time trying things out, pulling himself up on things. Not Hope. We were here, and it was April, the first semi-nice day we'd had after a long, cold winter. I took her out in the back garden, and we played for a while. It was a nice, uncomplicated morning. In those days, sometimes that was enough. But then, before I was about to get up and go inside, she stood up, right from where she'd been sitting. She balanced for a moment, and then took a step, and another, and another. She walked right over to me and into my arms. I thought, that's right, love. You can always come to me.
Remus paused.
That's the memory I use, because I've been lucky. I was lucky enough to have her. I was lucky enough that she took those extraordinary steps. Now I'm lucky enough that she still comes to me and has always come to me.
Mooney,
Sirius said. Remus picked Sirius's hand up from the bed and entwined their fingers.
You have one too. I know you've used it. What do you use?
Remus asked. Sirius looked at him.
In the infirmary, in Hogwarts, when you came to visit me that first night. Your face, even before you told me what I already knew about Hope. I said I saw the love on your face, and I did then, for the first time in 12 years, and it seemed like a miracle.
He paused.
It was a miracle.
Remus brought Sirius's hand to his lips and kissed it.
Give her time, Padfoot,
he said, and then kissed Sirius on the lips, and Sirius finally took a breath. The next order meeting was as crowded as the last, and while Remus was grateful that their numbers had increased, he had decidedly mixed feelings that most of the new recruits were as young as 17. Remus outlined the fact that he had begun teaching Harry, Hermione, and Ron the Patronus charm, and why. He left out that he had also tried with Hope, who had opted out of lessons for now. He also outlined his plan to teach it in addition to the curriculum to the students present, and Dumbledore had nodded.
It's a good idea,
Tonks had said.
It might end up being necessary.
I agree.
Moody added.
I also suggest, well, intelligence at the Ministry indicates that his followers may be trying to put a trace spell on the use of his name, so communication will need to be even more discreet.
You think they'll be successful at that?
Sirius asked, and Remus could hear the surprise.
I do.
Moody said, and Tonks and Kingsley also nodded.
These are powerful witches and wizards who feel free to use dark magic at their discretion. They will find a way.
Remus saw heads nodding, even as his own stomach sank.
I must say I was thinking that perhaps more students, not just the 7th years, might also find it beneficial.
Like Hope.
Andromeda asked. Remus nodded, though he didn't elaborate.
Hope, Ginny.
He looked over at Arthur and Molly. Molly was frowning, but Arthur looked thoughtful.
It would be with the permission of their parents, of course.
Molly and Arthur exchanged a look, and Arthur nodded.
Yes, to Ginny.
You know we'd teach her anyway, Mum.
Ron said, and Remus didn't miss the rueful look on Molly's face, even though she nodded.
How will you meet?
Tonks asked.
With additional students, this will have to be outside of class hours.
She glanced at Dumbledore, who nodded. Remus shifted in his seat.
Well, actually, a couple of years ago,
he started.
You're thinking of using Lupin's army for this purpose,
Dumbledore said smoothly, and Remus looked over at him in surprise. In response, Dumbledore merely let a slow smile creep across his face.
Lupin's army.
Andromeda said, raising her eyebrows.
I still hate that name.
Remus muttered, and he caught Sirius's grin next to him.
During Dolores Umbridge's time at Hogwarts as a professor, when Remus could only teach from the textbook, a group of students took it upon themselves to meet privately and practice data spells in secret. They called their organization Lupin's Army, or the LA. Harry performed the instruction.
Dumbledore said smoothly.
You knew about that.
Harry asked incredulously. Dumbledore's eyes twinkled a bit at Harry, and Remus once again reminded himself not to underestimate Albus Dumbledore.
I'll take that as a rhetorical question, Harry.
Dumbledore said smoothly. Many of the students still looked surprised.
It's my understanding you've never stopped meeting. Is that correct?
Remus saw Hermione nod.
Then I agree. It is the perfect avenue for Professor Lupin to continue to teach more advanced spells to students at Hogwarts, including the Patronus Charm. Hermione, please coordinate times with Professor Lupin.
Hermione looked pleased at being given an assignment.
The rest of us, unfortunately, have a much more grim project ahead of us.
Dumbledore said.
We will need to find the next Horcrux, and I believe we should focus on Slytherin's locket.
Do we have any idea where it is?
Ted asked.
We have narrowed things down to a few different locations.
Moody said.
Sirius, if you would.
Sirius nodded, spreading out the order map in front of them. In addition to the planted flags of tracked Death Eaters, 6 places on the map now held a magical red X hovering above a location.
We will send teams of scouts to each location, different members to different locations, at different times. Remus and the students will remain at Hogwarts, practicing and refining communication. Lupin, I'd like all communication to go through you at this time.
Remus nodded.
I'd still like to use you in the field, and it may come to that.
Moody said, and Remus nodded at that too.
But for now, we will start with these locations. We have once again tried to match pairs who are complementary to each other, and we have separated couples and parents so that families may be better protected. Make no mistake, this will be dangerous work.
Moody warned. He looked around the room.
And for that reason, we are also going to focus on older Order members. An aura will be involved in each mission. We will take 2 locations each.
But we have joined to help,
Fred Weasley exclaimed. The rest of the members, whom Remus still thought of as the children, also looked mutinous. Moody nodded.
We understand, lad, but the magic that's been used on these Horcruxes is dark and dangerous.
He sighed.
And believe me, in my experience, there will be plenty of opportunities for danger. We aren't even sure the locket is at any of these locations, and none of this includes anything that will involve fighting Death Eaters that we know of. We don't know who or what is guarding the locket. When I say that is coming, times when we will be fighting Death Eaters, it is. You can be sure of it. Everyone in this room can be sure of it. They're not going to go quietly this time. Not that they ever did.
Moody ended. Remus, who had fought this war once already, agreed. Moody continued.
Tonks and Arthur will be dispatched to location 1 at a time to be disclosed through the use of Patronus to Remus. Andromeda and myself will be dispatched to location 2, should location 1 prove to be unsuccessful. Sirius and Kingsley, you will be dispatched to location 3. Tonks and Snape, you will be dispatched to location 4. Ted and I will be dispatched to location 5. Kingsley and Remus will take location 6. And if no one is successful, then we will start over.
Moody nodded to Dumbledore.
Are the directions clear?
Dumbledore asked. Heads around the room nodded.
What about him?
Harry asked. Dumbledore sighed.
Harry, you, concentrate as much as you can on your studies. Moody is correct. This is just phase 1 of this operation. Even if it is successful, we will eventually need to contend with the Death Eaters themselves, or with any assault they may wage in the meantime.
So we just wait?
Harry asked.
Until the Horcruxes are destroyed, any full assault on him will be futile.
Dumbledore said softly.
What about the other Death Eaters? We just let them continue on.
Ron asked.
They are guarded by the full power of their master.
Dumbledore said softly.
When we engage them, we will need to mean it. and I will not do so until their master can also be defeated, or we devise a plan to try to take them individually, which they will quite quickly catch on to,"
Dumbledore said. Ron and Harry fell silent, though they looked unhappy. Remus sympathized. Dumbledore sighed.
"I understand that it feels urgent. I too fear we are running out of time. We may need to take increasing risks, all of us. But for now, let's do the best we can with the information we have, and try to destroy a crucial piece of Voldemort's puzzle. If that's all, then I wish these teams the best of luck. Should the locket be found, it will be returned to Moody and myself at Hogwarts."
Moody nodded, and Remus did not miss the look he and Dumbledore shared. As was now their tradition, Remus, Sirius, Hope, Harry, Ron, and Hermione took the train to Hogwarts, this time with John, who, much to Sirius's relief, slept almost the entire way. He had had visions of chasing his now walking and sometimes running 1-year-old up and down the train corridor, and almost suggested there needed to be a better way. Fortunately for everyone involved, a little cauldron cake in his belly and the movement of the train had lulled John to sleep, his little body resting on Sirius's chest. He stirred as they disembarked, lifting his head toward the castle.
"Hush,"
he said.
"That's right,"
Sirius said.
"Hogwarts home."
John smiled, and Sirius pressed a kiss to his cheek. Sirius saw Remus quietly pull Hermione for a brief conference. Hermione nodded, and Remus had squeezed her arm before she walked away to be taken with the rest of the students to the castle. Remus walked back over to where Sirius was standing with John, and Hope came up, levitating her school trunk.
LA meeting soon.
Hope asked knowingly, and Remus smiled.
"I'm sure your coin will tell you soon enough."
Remus said, leaning down, though not by much, Sirius noted, to place a kiss on her cheek.
"Are you going to come?"
Hope flicked her gaze to Sirius a bit, but then refocused on Remus and nodded.
"That's a girl,"
Remus said.
"We'll be working on a variety of things."
He said easily as Hope shrugged.
I'd better be going.
Hope said, indicating the other students.
"Of course, love,"
Remus said easily.
"Hey, Hope,"
Sirius said, and Hope turned to look at him.
"I love you,"
he said simply. Hope nodded, but Sirius noted she didn't smile, and his heart beat a little faster.
Love you too, Pads.
She answered, before levitating her trunk before her and walking away. Sirius watched her go. He felt Remus take his hand.
"Have you ever been to the opening feast as an adult?"
Remus asked lightly. Sirius shook his head.
"I'm not a professor,"
he noted. Remus regarded him.
"What are they going to do? Kick you out?"
he asked. At that, Sirius laughed a little.
"And this one?"
He bounced John on his hip.
"Yeah, they're going to kick him out too."
Remus laughed.
"Are you joking? I expect he's going to spend most of his meal with Poppy Pomfrey, and that's only if she gets to him ahead of Madame Hooch."
Sirius laughed, and Remus didn't let go of his hand.
"Come on, Padfoot, come to the feast."
"All right, Moony, you've talked me into it,"
Sirius said, though he was curious, because in 3 years he had always just gone to their quarters and settled in.
"Good,"
Remus said easily, keeping hold of his hand and pulling him along, walking up to the castle. Remus had been right on more than one count. First, Poppy had claimed John nearly the minute they had walked into the great hall, and John had squealed at her in delight. For another, no one batted an eye as he took a seat next to Remus at the high table, not even Snape, whom Sirius had avoided talking to in the last few weeks. The food filled their plates, and the drinks their glasses, and Sirius for a moment felt like a teenager again, full of the promise of another year of Hogwarts, of the freedom he felt there as a young man, free from Walburga and Orion and Grimmauld Place, and later the freedom of continuing to be home with James, and the love on Remus's face, both his young one and his older one. Then, the students filed in, and Sirius found Hope immediately, watching as she took a spot at the Gryffindor table, laughing with Jasmine and her other friends, head thrown back as she animated a story, making the students around her double over with mirth. Harry caught her eye from a little down the table, and he saw them exchange a wink before Hope went back to her friends, this time listening intently as she ate, caught up listening to their own summer adventures. Remus leaned over, his voice soft in his ear.
"That's why I wanted you to come,"
he said.
"There's nothing like seeing her here. That's the real magic."
Sirius turned his head, looked over at him.
"It is,"
Sirius agreed. He looked back over at Hope, caught her making another comment that caused both her and Jasmine to laugh.
Thank you, Mooney.
Of course, Padfoot.
Remus said, finding Sirius's hand underneath the table and squeezing.
Of course.
The next day, Sirius rolled over in bed. He started for a minute, realizing that John hadn't woken him up, but then relaxed, as John wouldn't have been hard to hear in their quarters, even with the fourth bedroom.
He's still asleep.
A voice next to him said, and Sirius smiled. Remus?
What time is it?
Sirius asked sleepily, rolling over to face Remus, who definitely did not look the least bit sleepy.
Still early, 7.
Sirius nodded. John had turned out to be a fairly good sleeper. So far, Remus kept noting Riley, and usually slept until at least 7:30.
Why are you awake?
Sirius asked. Remus shrugged, but he made it a languid, fluid motion, and Sirius woke up a little more.
Just a first day of classes.
Oh, Merlin, you're excited about classes.
Sirius teased.
I've always been excited about classes.
Remus rejoined.
I don't remember you complaining when I would climb into your 4-poster in the dorm at 6 a.m.
Sirius thought. Remus did used to wake him up early the first day of classes from second year on, though as the years continued, the kind of wake-up Sirius received had, well, evolved. He grinned.
Is this a third-year kind of wake-up or a seventh-year kind of wake-up?
He asked, continuing to grin.
At this point, if you continue to talk to me instead of
blowing you,
Sirius supplied,
then it will turn from a 7th-year wake-up to a 3rd-year wake-up pretty damn quick.
Remus continued, not missing a beat. Sirius continued to grin, leaning over to kiss Remus, long and slow and a little messy, satisfied when Remus made an answering noise in his throat. Sirius kissed along Remus's jaw and then down his throat, Remus leaning his head back for better access.
Can I send the professor to classes with a bruise?
Sirius asked, sucking a bit of Remus's skin into his mouth, using his teeth for good measure.
No,
Remus said breathlessly.
But I can magic that away.
He continued.
Don't you dare.
Sirius said, letting go and sliding Remus's pajama bottoms and pants down.
Whatever you say,
Remus said, swallowing hard enough Sirius could hear it. Sirius hummed, licking his lips before swallowing Remus down, drawing a cry from Remus. He drew up a bit and pulled off, managing.
Silencing charm.
And protection charm. And lubrication charm.
Remus breathed, the muscles in his abdomen twitching. Sirius raised an eyebrow.
You've been busy.
Waiting for you to wake up. Ah.
Remus said as Sirius swallowed him again, as far as he could go. He did so love this, when Mooney was impatient, waiting, wanting. Remus was almost always a willing participant in their sex life. But a Remus Lupin who initiated, who made himself clear, who took charge, was a Remus Sirius found it hard to resist, so he simply didn't. Instead, he held Remus's hips down, making it harder for Remus to thrust up, which only produced a whine from Remus's throat. Sirius hummed in answer, and Remus groaned, his hips moving slightly against Sirius's hands. Sirius relaxed his jaw as Remus continued to thicken in his mouth against his tongue, a sensation he loved, didn't think he'd ever get enough of. He hummed again and Remus writhed a bit, panting. Sirius continued, making sure to add just a little suction before reaching down to Remus's entrance. He ran a fingertip around, and Remus had been true to his word, as he was already slick around Sirius's finger. Remus moaned in response, and Sirius pushed his finger all the way in, Remus using the new freedom of one of his hips to thrust up a bit into Sirius's mouth, one of his hands finding Sirius's hair. Sirius nodded and Remus tugged, this time earning a moan from Sirius. Sirius continued for several minutes, felt Remus tug again.
Padfoot.
Remus finally breathed, and Sirius nodded, moving down one last time before Remus came. Sirius swallowed and then pulled up and off, looking up at Remus again.
All right, Mooney.
Remus had thrown his arm across his eyes, but he nodded. Sirius grinned wickedly, not that Remus could see it at the moment. He added another finger to the first, and Remus writhed again, and Merlin, he was so beautiful like this, Sirius thought he might come from just the sight of him. He pulled off his own pajama bottoms and pants.
Mooney.
Sirius breathed and Remus moved his arm and met his eyes, nodding. Sirius removed his fingers and pushed himself in, feeling Remus relax and then tighten in response. Sirius gasped. He set a fast rhythm, knowing he wouldn't last long. Not this morning, not with Remus like this, pliant and boneless and beautiful beneath him.
Sirius.
Remus managed, surging up to kiss him. Sirius met the kiss, hot and lingering. When they broke apart, he shook his head a bit to get the fringe off of his face.
You have no idea how beautiful you are like this.
Sirius managed, watching Remus flush from his cheekbones to his neck to his chest at both the compliment and the feel of Sirius. Remus reached up a shaky hand and brushed his fingertips along Sirius's cheekbone, and Sirius closed his eyes at the gesture, pulsing into Remus with his orgasm. He leaned down to kiss Remus again, before pulling out and muttering the cleaning charm. Remus was grinning at him.
We should start every semester this way,
Sirius said, and Remus laughed, pulling him in for another kiss. That evening, per Remus's instructions, the coin Hermione had given him had charmed into the signal that the LA would meet, and Remus met the students in the room of requirement. The room had turned into a wide open space, with plenty of room for the students to spread out and work. Remus looked out at them now, familiar faces like Harry, Hermione, Ron, Ginny, Hope, and Neville, as well as new ones like Hope's friend Jasmine, housemates Luna had brought from Ravenclaw, and even a few Slytherin students, 6th years, who had Muggle blood somewhere in their lineage, or were Muggle-born themselves. Remus looked at the faces assembled before him with a mixture of pride, astonishment, and hesitation. Deeply sorry they had to face the situation they were in, but equally sure that if they needed him for help, he would be there for them.
Right then, welcome to all. You've already shown incredible bravery in coming tonight, and know that you are seen for the bright minds that you are. I hope you don't need to use the skills we learn here, but it's my goal that if you do, you will have the tools you need to be capable and formidable opponents.
He nodded, seeing his own determination on their faces.
We will split into different groups, working on different skills. I'll circulate among you to teach you spells, help with control and incantations, and see you through practice. Success may not come easily with many of these spells, which are often complex, advanced magic, but though my expectations are high, I know you are capable of meeting them with practice and work. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Neville, and Luna. I'd like to work with you on the Patronus charm. Some of you have had some practice already, but I will instruct those that haven't. Hope, Ginny, Jasmine, Rena. I'd like to work with you on a few counter hexes, or on deflection. Lauren, Brandon, Terence. You'll work on some simple hexes, perhaps starting with the Jelly Legs hex, and moving on to ones like Stupefy. Any questions?
The students shook their heads or looked at Remus. Harry nodded at him.
Then we will begin,
Remus said, watching the students split off into their groups. Hope caught his eye and nodded, and he breathed a bit. He had wondered if she would protest not being put in the group working on Patronuses, but Remus hadn't wanted to start her off there, wanted her to begin where she felt more confident. That many of her friends were part of that group possibly helped. Remus went to the Patronus group first, catching the tail end of Harry telling Luna and Neville about their practice this summer.
None of us have produced a corporeal Patronus yet, but Remus, Professor Lupin, says that's normal, a part of the process.
Harry was saying.
Indeed, Harry,
Remus said.
Harry, can you help lead this group? Go ahead and demonstrate what you know while I get the other group started.
Harry nodded, and Remus caught Ron and Hermione's smiles. He smiled too, moving to work with Hope's group, introducing them on how to catch a spell and move it back to the caster. An hour and a half went by, Remus rotating in and out of groups, and Remus was about to call an end to their night, speaking softly to the youngest, most inexperienced students, when an actual lack of chatter caught him by surprise. He looked over to find the students in the other two groups watching Harry, who was attempting to cast a Patronus. The light coming out of his wand was a steady stream, almost a river, pouring silver light out the end of his wand and into the room, lighting up the faces of the other students in its soft, silvery glow. Remus walked over, holding his breath slightly, as the light began to take on a much more distinct shape, growing and shifting as it did so. Remus could tell whatever it was going to do, it was about to take a shape, and a large one at that. He was in no way prepared for what the shape would be. Seemingly in slow motion, Remus watched as the silvery light emitted from Harry's wand grew a body, complete with legs and hooves, and finally a head, large and noble, adorned with glowing antlers.
Harry, it's a stag,
Hermione said, excited and breathless. Remus heard his own gasp as if it had come from someone else, and felt more than saw the other students turn to look at him. His eyes met Harry's, and he felt them fill with tears. Harry looked at him, slightly confused at his reaction, pride clear in Harry's eyes, in his expression.
Harry,
Remus managed.
I did it. I formed a Patronus.
Harry said, the joy evident in his voice. Ron clapped his shoulder.
Harry.
Remus said again.
Well, Harry, it is. But not just any Patronus, not just any stag.
Harry looked at him, tilting his head.
It's Prongs,
Remus said softly. As if in answer to its name, the Patronus lifted its head and sniffed the air. Harry's mouth dropped open.
Like.
He swallowed hard.
Like your dad,
Remus supplied.
I'd know that stag anywhere. That was your dad's animagus form.
Remus saw Hermione cover her mouth.
Remus.
Harry started, and his own voice sounded teary.
Finite incantatum.
Remus whispered, and the Patronus disappeared.
Harry, I know.
Remus started, but Harry didn't hesitate, merely swallowing hard and then stepping close to Remus, pulling Remus into a brief embrace. Remus, mindful of Harry's pride, squeezed him gently before releasing him. He needn't have worried. The rest of the students were looking at Harry with a mixture of joy, friendship, or awe on their faces. Remus blinked back his own tears. Remus turned to the group.
On that note of success, I suggest we adjourn for the evening. We will meet again soon. You'll receive the message on your coins.
The other students nodded, filing out of the room with congratulations, pats on the back, or hands shaken with Harry, until it was Harry, Ron, Hermione, Hope, and Remus left.
You should come to our rooms,
Remus suggested.
I know someone who will want to see that,
he said. Remus saw Hermione and Ron exchange a look before Ron spoke.
Harry, we'll meet you back in the tower. Yeah.
Harry looked at him, nodded.
Hope, let's go see Sirius,
he said, and they all exited together, the room of requirements door turning into a stone wall as they turned their backs. Sirius was at his desk in the sitting room when they entered, and he didn't look up.
Mooney. Crouch is on the move from Edinburgh to London, it looks like. Though fuck if I know why,
he said at the sound of the door. Remus cleared his throat loudly, and Sirius spun around in his chair.
Oh, and Hope and Harry. Good evening,
he said. Hope laughed, and Harry raised an eyebrow and grinned.
They've heard me say that before,
Sirius defended.
I know, and that's not a defense,
Remus said lightly, but Sirius could tell he wasn't at all fussed about it.
Successful meeting,
Sirius asked. All three of them exchanged a look he couldn't place.
Or not,
he ventured.
No, incredibly successful,
Remus assured him.
Harry produced a corporeal Patronus. We wanted to show you,
he said.
Well done, Harry,
Sirius said, getting up and clapping Harry on the back, who grinned.
Yes, well done indeed,
Remus said softly, and his voice had a note of wistfulness in it that Sirius thought seemed odd. Sirius inclined his head toward him, and Remus shook his head slightly in return.
Harry, I think you should demonstrate,
Remus said, and Harry sat up near Sirius's desk, where there was more floor room, away from most of the sitting room furniture. Remus and Hope stood to the side to give Harry even more room. Sirius wondered if it was quite a large animal, then, if Harry needed so much space. Harry threw his wand arm out and clearly said,
Expecto Patronum.
Sirius watched as silver light poured from Harry's wand and kept pouring. A large animal indeed, he thought, as the light continued to take shape, growing to fit the space provided, growing, Sirius saw with dawning realization, into a full-grown stag. His throat closed up so tightly he couldn't speak, though he saw Harry turn to look at him.
Prongs,
Sirius managed, and both Harry and Remus turned to look at him. He saw Remus nod.
Harry,
Sirius tried again, clearing his throat.
This is incredible. You're incredible. I'm so proud of you.
Harry tilted his head.
You once told me that the ones we love never really leave us,
he said softly. Sirius looked at him and knew his eyes were filled with tears, and he didn't care one bit.
That's right, they don't. They truly don't, Harry James.
He stopped.
James is still here to protect you, even in this moment. Any moment. Always.
Harry nodded and waved his wand, making the stag disappear. He took the few steps towards Sirius and allowed himself to be encircled in a hug.
Hope,
Remus said softly.
Let's go make some hot chocolate.
Sirius heard their footsteps head toward the kitchen, and he continued to embrace Harry and all the pieces of James had imbued in his son. Eventually, Remus dispatched the children back to Gryffindor Tower for the night, and the two of them sat on the couch in their sitting room watching the fire.
I wasn't expecting that.
Remus admitted.
I knew he'd produce a Patronus. He's gifted at defense. But that?
Remus trailed off.
That was...
Sirius shook his head.
James,
Was all he managed to say.
You said so yourself, Padfoot, that James had lost his heart to Harry. He really did. We knew he loved that boy, and if there's any proof necessary of how much.
Remus stopped, put his arm around Sirius, and pulled him closer.
He'd be so proud,
Sirius said.
As well he should be.
Remus answered, kissing Sirius's temple softly. It was a wet September, and chillier than usual. The LA was meeting at least twice a week, the Order once a week. So far, the scouting groups to the possible locket locations had come up empty, and Sirius was set to head off with Kingsley later that morning. Sirius would apparate to London, meeting Kingsley. They would then hop in short bursts until they reached their destination, a remote cave on an island surrounded by a lake. John was with a rotation of babysitters until Remus came home from classes at the end of the day, starting with Poppy, who had volunteered even though she was working her usual shift. She'd whisked him away to the infirmary, and Sirius had left him happily attempting to stack cotton balls. Remus came home between classes, watching carefully as Sirius donned his coat and a scarf against the chilly air, his wand stowed carefully in a pocket.
It'll be fine, Mooney,
Sirius assured him.
So far, everyone has come up empty. I wouldn't be surprised if this was another stop on the wild goose chase,
he said. Remus still looked worried and pensive. He came forward and straightened the lapels of Sirius's coat, and then pulled him in for a kiss.
Be careful,
he said as they broke apart.
Always.
Sirius grinned.
I mean it,
Remus said, kissing him again.
I know, I will be,
he said, leaning in for one more kiss before heading toward the door, prepared to walk down to Hogsmeade to the apparition point. Later, Sirius would think, if he knew what was waiting for him, he would have been much less flippant with Remus and with himself. He and Kingsley had made 4 midway apparition stops before landing squarely on the island. A cave loomed ahead of them, and Sirius immediately felt a deep feeling of foreboding.
This looks like a good location for a Horcrux,
he said.
Remote, desolate, and horrible.
Kingsley nodded, pulling his own coat tighter.
I think the only way out is through,
he said, and Sirius nodded, following him toward the entrance to the cave. When they got close, Kingsley suddenly put a hand out, landing on Sirius's arm.
Do you feel that?
Sirius nodded.
Defenses, old, mostly gone or crumbling.
He paused.
And something else. I can't place it, though.
Kingsley nodded again.
Me either. I don't like it. I can smell the dark magic, though.
He said, face serious. He looked at Sirius.
Are you up for this?
Sirius nodded.
I can do it,
he said, squaring his shoulders. In actuality, they had little trouble gaining entrance to the cave. Sirius had been right. The defenses were old and not in good shape. A spell here or there, including one to shore up the infrastructure, and they were inside, lit only by the glow of their wands, both illuminated by Lumos spells. Kingsley took another deep breath.
The smell. I can't place the smell,
he muttered as he and Sirius went deeper into the cave. Sirius himself was breathing short bursts in and out of his nose, smelling the same thing Kingsley must be, and not liking it one bit. They almost stumbled into the basin, looking around themselves for danger, and the source of the smell neither of them liked. Kingsley looked down, moving his wand closer over the surface of the basin, which was empty, except for a note, and Sirius noted, gasping, a locket.
Oh, Merlin,
he said, reaching out, but Kingsley stopped him with a hand on his arm.
Wait, don't touch it, not until...
Kingsley moved his wand and uttered spells, but none of them lit up his wand, or Sirius's, as dark magic. Sirius looked at him.
Do you find that odd? Not many traces of dark magic around the locket.
Kingsley nodded, looking grim.
If this is supposed to be a Horcrux, I certainly do,
he said, and Sirius nodded. Kingsley inclined his head toward the basin.
There appears to be a note, perhaps.
Sirius nodded, watching as Kingsley reached in gingerly and took the paper by the edge. He read,
To the Dark Lord, I know I will be dead long before you read this, but I want you to know that it was I who discovered your secret. I have stolen the real Horcrux, and intend to destroy it as soon as I can. I face death in the hope that when you meet your match, You will be mortal once more.
Kingsley paused.
It's signed,
He said.
R.A.B.
Sirius gasped sharply, feeling like he had had the wind knocked out of him. Kingsley threw a look at him.
Sirius.
He ventured.
I know.
Sirius tried.
I know who that is. I know.
He said. His legs grew shaky, and he saw the look of concern on Kingsley's face.
I know.
He said again before bending over at the waist, fighting the urge to vomit, or failing that, sit down.
Whoever it was, they took the real Horcrux. It was here, and now we don't know.
Kingsley started.
I can't think right now, but I could probably.
He took a breath, tried to steady himself.
I could probably figure out where it is,
he said.
How?
Kingsley asked, clearly shaken about how shaken Sirius was, and frustrated that the locket, which he had now picked up, was a fake, dangling from his fingers and catching the light from his wand.
Because I know.
Sirius tried to take a steadying breath, and it failed miserably.
I know. R.A.B. Regulus Arcturus Black.
He managed. Kingsley's hand found his arm again, tried to haul him upright.
Regulus Black, as in?
My brother, Regulus. We knew he was a Death Eater. Figured he'd turned away, gotten killed for trying to defect. But that's not what happened. He took.
This time Sirius couldn't help it, turned away and vomited, losing part of his breakfast. When he was done, he stood up a little straighter, turned to Kingsley.
He died here. He must have died here.
Sirius said.
There never was a body.
Sirius watched Kingsley think.
Sirius, I think we should go. We have whatever information we came for. It's done. We're done here.
Kingsley put the note and the fake locket in his pocket.
No, Regulus.
Regulus is gone.
Kingsley said firmly but not unkindly.
He's been gone for years. We have the information we need. We should go.
Sirius took a breath, nodded.
Can you apparate?
Kingsley asked. Sirius thought.
I'm not sure.
I could side along you, or we have an emergency port key.
Kingsley said, pulling an innocuous-looking cup from his other pocket.
I can do it.
Sirius stood up straighter. Kingsley nodded and lifted his wand.
To the first point back, in Devon.
Sirius nodded and tried to apparate. He thought that maybe he had been unable to pull it together enough to apparate safely when nothing happened, but then he heard Kingsley swear next to him.
Anti-apparition wards,
Kingsley said.
But we got here.
Sirius protested.
They allow entrance but not exit.
Kingsley said roughly.
Come,
he said, and Sirius followed. They walked out of the cave into the cloudy day, wind whipping up from the water. Sirius could see Kingsley measuring, see his eyes flick to the far shore in the distance.
Too far to swim,
Kingsley said.
I probably could.
Sirius said, eyeing the distance.
In my animagus form, I swam through the North Sea. I could get help.
Kingsley shook his head.
Too far, too dangerous.
Port key, then,
Sirius said, and Kingsley nodded. Sirius reached out toward the port key, which Kingsley held carefully by the handle, his own hand reaching out to touch the body of the cup itself, when Sirius's hand stilled.
What?
Kingsley asked.
The smell. It's gotten more intense,
Sirius said. He watched the water around them start to ripple ominously.
I smell it too,
Kingsley said.
All the more reason.
He was cut off by the two of them, seeing one hand, and then another, start to reach out of the water.
Fuck.
Sirius swore, his heart about to beat out of his chest. He finally placed the smell, one he'd only smelled once before, in a warehouse in Cardiff on a mission during the First War.
In Ferry,
Kingsley said, mouth twisting.
We have to go, now,
he said. Sirius nodded, reaching for the port key, realizing too late how close he'd gotten to the edge of the island when trying to gauge the distance to the shore. One of the hands reached out and managed to grab him by the ankle, tugging.
Fuck,
he said as he went down, hard, grasping at the gravel and grass underneath his hands. He tried to claw his way up, but the grip on his ankle was hard and tugging. He panicked briefly, knowing with sudden clarity why they had never recovered Regulus's body.
Sirius,
Kingsley cried. He reached out a hand and Sirius grabbed it, scrabbling his other hand in the earth as Kingsley pulled. Together, they just managed it, Sirius scrambling up the slope to his feet.
Now,
Kingsley cried, and Sirius didn't need to be told twice, touching the port key and feeling the disorienting pull of its power, landing hard on his back. He looked around slightly, He seemed to be in a field because all he could see was grass, and thankfully, Kingsley next to him, breathing heavily.
Where are we?
Sirius managed.
Outside Dublin.
Kingsley answered.
About 20 minutes outside town.
Sirius nodded. He swallowed.
Do you think you can apparate?
Kingsley asked.
Do you need a minute?
Kingsley's breathing, Sirius noted, wasn't as heavy, but was still strained.
Do you?
Sirius asked.
Fuck no.
Kingsley said.
I want to go home.
He added. Sirius nodded.
London or Hogwarts?
Kingsley blew out a breath.
We will need to see Dumbledore,
he said.
Damn it.
Sirius nodded. All he wanted was Remus. Thankfully for him, Remus and Dumbledore were in the same place. He sat up gingerly, already feeling the bruising in his back.
Hogwarts, then,
he said.
I'll send a Patronus ahead,
Kingsley said, and Sirius nodded.
Should send one to Remus, too,
he said. Kingsley looked at him and nodded. They stood almost at the same time after Kingsley sent both Patronuses with the simple message.
Mission gone awry. Heading to the apparition point at Hogsmeade. Ready?
Kingsley asked. Sirius nodded.
Ready,
he said. He watched as Kingsley disappeared with the distinctive crack of apparition, and then he followed. Remus was watching him as Poppy Pomfrey fretted around him in the infirmary. Remus had been watching him for hours, since he and Dumbledore had met Sirius and Kingsley at the gate to Hogwarts. Kingsley and Sirius had debriefed them both in Dumbledore's office. Kingsley produced the fake locket and the note to Dumbledore, and they had told their story. Remus hadn't said a word, but Sirius had managed.
I want to keep the note.
Dumbledore had looked him over and given it to him, Sirius stowing it in his coat pocket. The headmaster had insisted they be looked over by Poppy Pomfrey, particularly Sirius, who had had a much closer call than Kingsley had. Poppy had dismissed Kingsley a few minutes earlier, and Kingsley had gripped Sirius's arm tightly before leaving. Sirius had nodded at him as Poppy continued to fuss.
Sirius, your back is quite bruised from your fall. And your ankle.
She said.
It's swollen, and there are.
She stopped. There had been finger-shaped bruises on his ankle.
I'm fine, Poppy,
Sirius said warily.
I just want to go home,
he said, looking between Poppy and Remus. Poppy sighed.
I'm going to give you a couple of pain potions. If you need more, ask. I'm also going to give you some anti-inflammatory potions for your ankle and your back. They should help with the swelling.
Sirius nodded.
Also,
she said softly,
Cho-Chang came to collect John, and I think she's entertaining him in the Ravenclaw common room. I'll send her a message that when her shift is over, she should bring him back up here. I'm happy to have him again for a little while,
she said. Sirius looked at Remus, who nodded.
Thank you, Poppy. That's quite kind of you.
To his surprise, Poppy leaned down and hugged Sirius. He blinked back sudden tears.
Of course, dear.
Sirius redressed, and he and Remus walked back to their quarters in silence. The door had barely shut behind them when Sirius said,
You've been so quiet. I can't tell if you're angry or upset or...
He was cut off when Remus pulled him in close and tight, inhaling shakily into his hair.
Oh,
he said, clinging to Remus.
Moony.
Sirius.
Remus said, not moving.
Oh, Merlin, Moony, Merlin.
Sirius managed before the tears came, and he was sobbing into Remus's shoulder.
I know, Padfoot. I know.
Remus said softly.
We all thought he was a cowardly traitor, but he wasn't. He was so. He did. He was my brother.
Sirius managed. Remus held on tighter.
The inferi.
Sirius choked out.
They almost got you,
Remus said, his voice shaking.
They got him. They killed him. I know they did, I know.
They nearly killed you,
Remus said, and he pulled away, searching Sirius's eyes. Sirius saw the hurt and fear there, and it brought on a new round of tears.
Moony,
was all he could manage. Remus angled his head, so their foreheads were together, breath mingling as he continued to hold on. Remus finally installed Sirius on the couch, underneath a blanket, with a cup of hot, steaming tea. They were quiet for a long time, Remus's arm around his shoulders, Sirius leaning heavily onto Remus, both looking into the fire.
Do you think we need to tell the kids?
Sirius finally asked. Remus lifted his head from Sirius's shoulder and nodded reluctantly.
Harry will find out from the Order. From there, he will tell Hope. I'd rather they hear it from us.
He paused.
Do you want me to tell them? You don't have to.
Remus stopped when Sirius shook his head.
No, I think I should be there.
Doesn't have to be today.
Remus said. Sirius shook his head again.
They know today was my mission with Kingsley. I'm a little surprised no one has come by to check yet.
Classes are still in session,
Remus said softly. Sirius sighed, drew a hand over his eyes.
I can tell them, Padfoot.
No, they both deserve to hear it from me.
Remus nodded slowly, kissed his temple.
All right,
He said.
Be here, please.
Sirius asked.
Of course.
Remus said, kissing his temple again. Sirius sighed.
I think I know where the real locket is.
Remus hummed, and his arm around Sirius held on tighter.
You do?
Sirius nodded.
There was really only one place. For both of us. Only one place that shaped us. It would have been the easiest thing in the world for Regulus to be there, to hide it.
Grimmauld Place?
Remus said softly. Sirius blinked back tears, nodded.
Regulus.
He said, stopped. He let the tears come again. Almost in answer, he felt Remus's arm wrap even more tightly, felt Remus's breath against his temple, in his hair.
It's like he's died all over again.
Sirius finally managed.
Oh, darling,
Remus said, his breath on Sirius's face.
if that's true, then know that he died a hero. He died trying to defeat the Dark Lord. He may have destroyed the locket, but even if he didn't, then he left us a path to do that. His sacrifice may save Harry, may save us all, in the end.
Sirius nodded.
He died defying him. He did the right thing. He did the right brave thing.
He did, Sirius. He did.
Remus said, and he held Sirius again as he cried. They sent a message for Hope and Harry to come to their quarters after dinner, and it was just past 6 when they showed up, 2 serious faces appearing in the open doorway. Remus and Sirius had opted to have dinner on their own sofa, Sirius still underneath a blanket, unable to keep warm. He'd had little to eat, mainly pushing the food the house elves had left around his plate. Remus had eaten a little more, but not much, feeding John, whom he'd retrieved from Poppy, and who was sitting on the floor in front of them, still obsessed with the cotton balls Poppy had sent with him. Every once in a while, Remus would reach down and fish the end of one out of his mouth, but right now he was squeezing them in his small fists. Hope took one look at their faces and said,
It didn't go well.
She looked over at Harry, who also looked grim. His jaw had set in a way Sirius recognized from not James, but Lily. Sirius looked over at Remus, then back to Hope and Harry.
It went. Well, in one way, it went better than expected. But no, it was a difficult mission,
he said slowly.
What happened?
Harry asked, sitting in one of the armchairs across from the sofa, Hope taking the other.
Everything started fine.
Sirius said slowly.
Kingsley and I made our way to the island, surrounded by a lake. There were wards there and a basin, but it was empty, except for a note and a locket.
The locket?
Harry gasped. Sirius shook his head.
It was a fake, a replacement.
Hope looked confused.
Someone took the real locket and replaced it with a fake one. Why?
Sirius felt Remus take his hand.
Because they figured out what the Dark Lord was doing, and they were trying to stop him. They left a note that said so, and that when the Dark Lord had to face his end, they hoped he would be mortal once more.
Both Hope and Harry were silent for a moment, thinking.
So the locket could be anywhere?
Harry asked.
And who would do that?
Hope's voice soon followed. Sirius took a deep breath, and he knew it sounded shaky.
I think I know where the locket could be. That's the good news. I'm almost certain, because the person who stole the locket and left the note was Regulus.
Sirius heard Hope's intake of breath and saw Harry pale.
Regulus. Your brother, Regulus.
Hope asked. Sirius nodded.
He signed the note with his initials, and I would know the handwriting.
Sirius paused.
I would know the handwriting anywhere.
Regulus died,
Harry said.
You thought he'd tried to defect?
Sirius breathed again, and this time it was Remus who answered.
He did defect. He somehow figured out what the Dark Lord was doing, and he stole the locket to stop him. He's hidden the locket somewhere. Sirius thinks that it must be in Grimmauld Place, that that's where Regulus would have taken it, or sent it.
Harry nodded slowly. Hope was looking between Remus and Sirius.
There's something else.
Hope observed.
I think I know how Regulus.
Sirius stopped, swallowed.
I think I know how he died.
Hope and Harry merely looked at him.
There were inferi in the lake surrounding the cave.
Sirius said. Both Hope and Harry recoiled, disgust plainly evident on especially Harry's face.
How do you know that?
Hope asked shrewdly.
Because I could smell them. Kingsley, too. We couldn't place it at first, but then we were trying to decide how to leave. There were anti-apparition wards on the island. We could apparate there, but not out. We were trying to judge if we could swim, decided we couldn't. He had an emergency port key.
So you used the port key?
Harry said slowly.
Yes.
Sirius said.
You still didn't answer my question.
Hope said. Sirius took a breath, but nothing came out.
Pads was. He was close to the shore without realizing it. The Inferi.
Remus said. Harry gasped.
They managed to get his ankle and tried to pull him into the lake.
Remus said simply. Harry's eyes had widened, and he had gone even paler. Hope continued to look between her two fathers.
Kingsley grabbed onto me and I pulled, managed to break free. We used the port key, then made our way here.
Sirius said.
We decided to tell you. The next order meeting will be in a couple of days now, and we will be discussing it. Harry will know, and then.
Sirius trailed off, looking at Hope.
So you nearly died today?
Hope said bluntly.
Hope?
Remus said gently.
Hope I didn't. I'm fine. I'll be fine.
Sirius said softly. Harry nodded, but Hope's face, though pale, remained impassive.
I'm really glad you're okay.
Harry said, getting up and hugging Sirius. Sirius returned the hug gratefully.
Thank you, Harry,
he said. Hope remained seated, looking at Sirius.
You nearly died today?
She repeated.
Hope,
Sirius said gently.
No.
Hope said, getting to her feet. But instead of making her way to the couch, she walked toward the door of their quarters and opened it, going through without another word. Remus sighed heavily.
I'll talk to her,
Harry said quietly.
Harry, you don't need to do that.
Remus said gently.
I know, I want to,
he said. Sirius nodded. He was still looking at the door Hope had closed behind her. The next order meeting, only a couple of days following Kingsley and Sirius's mission, was serious, short, and efficient. Most of the order had been informed of their mission's outcome in one way or the other, and they were focused on regrouping.
Does this mean we need to restart the search for the locket?
Ted Tonks asked. Sirius shook his head.
I don't think so. In fact, I think it may be under our noses,
he said.
What do you mean?
Tonks asked, but it was Andromeda who answered.
You think it's here?
Andromeda said.
In Grimmauld Place.
Sirius nodded.
Regulus would have had unfettered access to the house, and there's so much here, he could merely have placed it among Mother's things, and no one would have been any wiser.
Moody thought.
It's as good a place to start as any. Sirius, you will lead the search.
Sirius nodded.
Andromeda.
Dumbledore asked.
Perhaps you can be of assistance.
Andromeda nodded.
I can help.
Right then. You can coordinate with Sirius on times. I hate to push both of you, but...
Time may be of essence.
Andromeda finished. Dumbledore nodded.
I want to come,
Harry said suddenly.
Harry.
Sirius started.
No, I need something to do, and risk-wise, it's fairly low risk.
Sirius looked at him, then glanced at Remus and Andromeda, who was nodding. Dumbledore sighed.
Very well, Mr. Potter. You are correct. And with Sirius and Andromeda here, they should be able to be of assistance just in case.
He stopped.
Well, I don't think anything will go wrong, but there is strength in numbers.
Harry nodded.
Then we will adjourn. Sirius, Andromeda, Harry, you will keep us updated.
Dumbledore looked out at the Order members.
Let us continue,
he said.
Once we have the locket, we will think through a plan for the other Horcruxes, and we will try to fulfill Regulus's wish, that the Dark Lord be mortal once more.
He finished. Sirius took a breath and looked down, but he nodded. The next day, Sirius had just put John down for his afternoon nap and settled on the couch himself with a book, when Hope unexpectedly pushed open the door of their quarters, letting it slam shut behind her. Sirius winced involuntarily at the noise.
John just went down,
he said, but Hope continued her path toward him, stalking up to face him, still on her feet.
Don't you have classes?
You're taking Harry to Grimmauld Place in a few days.
She said without preamble.
And I have a free period right now.
Sirius blinked, put his book aside.
Yes, Harry is coming to Grimmauld Place with me, as is your cousin Andromeda.
You'll be looking for the locket?
Hope said.
Yes.
I want to come?
Hope said. Sirius thought that was where this was headed.
Hope no. I would say no, and you know your dad will too.
Why not?
For one, you are 15. Even with this search at Grimmauld, things could go wrong. That house, even when it was in its best condition, was set with dark magic, traps. Now that it's been mostly unused for so long, we could be facing things that have had time to fester or fall apart. It's not as safe as it seems, not.
But you'll let Harry go.
Hope said stubbornly. Sirius sighed.
I didn't actually agree to that. Dumbledore did. Harry, he's restless, which I understand. Still.
It's always about Harry.
Hope suddenly said, and Sirius blinked, startled.
What do you mean?
Sirius asked carefully.
I mean,
Hope said, her voice hard and bitter in a way Sirius had never heard from her before.
that it's always about Harry.
She repeated.
Harry's a member of this family.
Sirius started slowly.
You don't think I don't know that. I love Harry. I do.
Hope defended.
It's not about that.
She said.
Then why don't you tell me what it's about, love?
Sirius said.
It's about.
Hope gestured a little wildly, then crossed her arms over her chest.
It's about that any time Harry needs help, or Harry is in trouble, you go running.
Hope, the Department of Mysteries. You were there too.
Sirius said slowly.
Maybe then, but not.
Hope took an angry breath, let it out.
Not when you saw Peter Pettigrew. Not when you broke out of Azkaban.
She said. Sirius felt his jaw drop.
The minute, the very second, you thought Harry needed protecting, that Harry was in trouble, you broke out. You did it. You escaped. You tracked him, found him near his aunt and uncle's house, followed him here, even came to watch him play Quidditch.
Hope said.
Hope.
Sirius started.
What about us? What about Dad?
Hope continued.
You think he didn't need you all those years. You knew he wasn't the spy then. You knew it was Peter Pettigrew, but you stayed put. You didn't even try. You supposedly loved him, and you didn't even try.
Hope, you know I didn't know about you, your dad.
Sirius tried.
It's not about me.
Hope said, and Sirius reeled back a little from the force of it.
Well, it is, maybe, a little. You could have been with us. You could have been with us so much sooner. Dad, do you know how much he struggled? Do you? Do you know that if there was a bad moon, he'd be sick for a week, sometimes longer? Mrs. Fields, she did what she could, but he hurt himself. He tried not to show it for my sake, or do you know that that meant he lost clients, or had to put off sessions, and if he did, then we had no money coming in. There were weeks when we had bread and eggs for every meal, because that's all he could afford. He always had food on the table for me, always, but not always for himself. And he tried to not let me see that either, but it was true. Or he'd give me 4 pieces of toast, and he'd have one. He worked so hard to keep those things from me, to give me everything he had, every bit of love he had, every bit of money he had, all the things we had. And where were you? You were in Azkaban, knowing you were innocent, but not making any move to fix that, any move to break free until Harry needed you. You tell me, who did you love more, James Potter and Harry, or Dad?
Hope Abigail Lupin.
Came a voice from the door, Remus's. He was standing near a now open door, looking furious. Both Sirius's and Hope's heads whirled around to look at him. He walked over to where Hope stood, in front of the sofa. She had grown, was taller than she'd been even over the summer, but she still had to look up at Remus.
Hope,
Remus said.
You can be angry with us. You can be sad. You can be frustrated. You can feel anything you need to feel with us. This is a safe space. But there is one thing you can't ever use against Pads, and one thing you can never use against me. You may never use Azkaban against Pads, and you may never use my lycanthropy against me. Is that clear?
Hope lifted her chin, but she nodded.
He's going to do it again.
She said stubbornly.
He's going to go off again. It will be about Harry again, and not me or John, and not even you.
Hope?
Remus said.
You know that's not true.
It's already been true.
Hope hissed.
It's already been true, all my life, and just now, with the locket.
Hope.
Sirius said.
I didn't know what was going to happen on that mission. We are at war and it's going to be dangerous. I can't make you any promises.
Of course not.
Hope said.
You never have.
Hope?
Remus said again, but Hope was shaking her head furiously.
No.
She said.
I'm done here.
She looked at Remus, but refused to look at Sirius.
May I go now? I'll be late to charms.
Remus looked over at Sirius, who nodded.
Yes, of course,
He said, and Hope stalked toward the door, carefully closing it behind her. Remus and Sirius looked at each other for a moment before Remus took a seat gingerly on the couch.
She's scared.
Remus said.
She's terrified of losing you.
He said softly. Sirius nodded.
And she's 15.
He sighed. He reached for Remus's hand and was surprised when Remus moved it away.
How much did you hear?
Sirius asked quietly.
Nearly all of it.
Remus said quietly too, not looking at him.
How much of it was true?
Sirius asked softly. Remus didn't answer.
Mooney,
Sirius said.
You know how much of it is true?
Remus finally said quietly.
Hope is like you. She never says anything she doesn't mean.
She's angry with me,
Sirius said. Remus nodded.
I'd wondered, ever since her difficulty with the Patronus charm, but she seemed okay.
He paused.
I'll talk to her again,
he said. Sirius shook his head.
I think it needs to be me this time.
Remus sighed.
Let me think about it.
He moved his hand to join the other in his lap.
Mooney,
Sirius said softly.
What she said about Azkaban.
Remus shook his head.
I can't begin to imagine what Azkaban was like for you.
He said softly.
I truly can't. It had to have been unimaginable pain and deprivation and torture.
He inhaled shakily.
I love you, Padfoot. I always have. I married you. I've carried and given birth to your children. I have a family with you.
Remus's voice started to shake.
But do you really think, in almost 4 years, that I never thought that you managed to break out of Azkaban for Harry, or to exact revenge on Peter, but not for me?
Mooney,
Sirius said, but Remus shook his head again.
I can't have this conversation right now.
Remus said, standing.
We have to have this conversation,
Sirius said.
I'm not debating that, but not now.
Remus answered.
Oh, I can. If you really need me, I'll be in my office. I have a couple of free periods. I'll be back.
He thought.
John,
he said.
I can take care of John,
Sirius said softly, and Remus nodded at him, heading toward the door and exiting. For the second time that day, Sirius watched someone he loved dearly walk away from him and through that door. Remus didn't return until after dinner, almost their usual bedtime. Sirius had made sure John had played and had dinner and gone back down to sleep after dinner. He took a shower and changed into pajama pants and a worn t-shirt of Remus's so he would be able to smell Remus at least. Remus found him on the bed in their bedroom, attempting to read, but really just blankly looking at the pages. Remus paused briefly before heading to the bathroom, and Sirius heard the shower running. Remus emerged with wet hair, pulling on pajamas of his own, before coming to the bed, climbing up on his side.
John,
Remus asked.
Totally fine,
Sirius answered, giving up all pretense on his book and setting it on his nightstand.
Played 8, went off to bed.
Remus nodded.
I'll check on him later,
he said. Sirius nodded in answer, looking down at his hands.
How bad was it, Remus?
Remus sighed.
It was bad. Hope isn't wrong,
he repeated.
I did my best for her, but we went through. I went through. Even before she was born, I was so depressed, so isolated and alone. There was no one. If it wasn't for Mrs. Fields, I don't know what I would have done. I've told you before, Hope. Knowing she was coming, someone was coming, was the only thing that kept me at all together,
he said. Sirius nodded.
And she was amazing and wonderful, but it was still, she wouldn't sleep, and I had no one. She was sick, and there was no one but me. I loved her with my whole heart, and still do, but it was only ever me. We clearly bonded over that. We worked together as a team, but sometimes I think she had to grow up faster than she should have, though I tried to prevent that.
Mooney.
Sirius tried, but Remus shook his head.
She's right too. We struggled financially. If I was sick, or she was, or the moon, it was lean. She never had anything new. Not until I managed to scrape some money together to buy her things for Hogwarts. Emptied my accounts for her. Sold the watch from my parents. She was always so good about that. About accepting clothes or toys from her friends, or her friends' parents. She never complained. She was always kind about it. And you. She didn't know about you, not then. But I did. I've admitted it to you. I thought you were guilty. I came back from the PAX in November. and you were in Azkaban, and everyone was gone. There was no proof to say otherwise, except that I loved you. And even then, I wondered if I had loved you, or only an illusion of you that you projected. I almost had to think you were guilty, because all the faith in the world I had, which was very little, had to go into Hope. It had to. I still think I should have believed in you more, remembered who you were, who you are. Maybe I could have.
Remus stopped.
I don't blame you, Remus.
Sirius said softly.
I never have.
Remus still didn't look at him, but he said,
But I blamed you. You weren't there. And even before Azkaban you were. Angry, cutting.
Sirius looked up at the ceiling.
I was paranoid and cruel. Peter had been in my ear. I never should have listened.
I thought you loved me, so I allowed it.
Remus said.
I did love you.
Sirius answered.
I do love you.
Remus smiled, but it was a twisted thing, and Sirius's heart twisted too.
I know, but...
He paused.
Do you know when I think Hope was conceived?
Sirius nodded. He'd done the math almost as soon as he had realized Hope's existence.
The last time we made love, before you went on your mission.
Remus nodded.
You were different that time than you had been most recently. It was more like the way things had been, loving, so warm, gentle, but passionate. Everything you were, everything we had been.
He paused.
At the time, I thought you were saying goodbye, that you were about to be the secret keeper. After, I still thought you were saying goodbye, but because you were about to betray us all.
Remus took a breath, and Sirius heard the tears watch them fall. He reached out a hand, and Remus let him this time, let him wipe them away. Remus shook his head.
We can't fix it, Padfoot. I told Hope that this summer. We can't fix it.
You know, that's the first thing she said to me when she met me, asked me why I'd let them take me to Azkaban, why I wasn't responsible to you.
Remus nodded.
This may have been festering for a long time, and she's hit her limits.
I'm worried about both your limits,
Sirius admitted. Remus started but stopped.
You said earlier, you had wondered why I had managed to escape Azkaban for Harry, but not for you.
Sirius paused.
I don't have an answer for that, other than the Dementors, and Azkaban itself, and my own selfish pity.
Sirius,
Remus said.
No, in a way she's right. Hope is right. You are right.
Remus shook his head.
Mooney, let me say it. I love James, you know that.
I never begrudged you your relationship with James.
Remus said slowly.
Or Lily or Harry.
Sirius shook his head.
I loved James, and I love Harry. Still do, both of them. But if you need to hear it from me, hear it now. I never, ever loved them the way I love you, the way I loved you then, the way I love you now, the way I love Hope, and the way I love John. All of us. They live in my heart, they do, and I will protect Harry, because Harry deserves it, because James deserved it. But you, it's you in the center, and our children, and that has never changed, will never change. If I forgot that, even in Azkaban, I am sorry. I will not ever forget it again.
You can't promise. We don't know the future.
I can't promise we will all be safe, you're right.
Sirius said slowly.
But I can promise you, and hope, that no one will ever be more important than you, or her, or all of us.
Padfoot,
Remus said, and there was a warning in it.
Mooney, I've made my mistakes. Merlin knows I'll probably make more, but this isn't going to be one of them.
Sirius searched his face for a moment before taking a chance, leaning forward to catch Remus's lips. Remus let him, crashed into him, searching with his lips, and Sirius let him, opened his mouth and let Remus search with his lips, his mouth, his tongue.
Padfoot,
Remus whispered, and Sirius gently rolled them until Sirius was laying on top of Remus, kissing him as if he was escaping Azkaban again, desperate and hungry and searching for comfort. Remus's hands tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, and Sirius complied, changing the angle to catch his breath. He felt Remus's leg come up, felt Remus hook his knee around Sirius's hip, pulling him closer. They both groaned at the contact.
Closer,
Remus said, and Sirius nodded. He lifted the hem of his shirt and pulled it off, then broke the kiss enough to pull off Remus's. Their mouths crashed together again, Remus moving his hands, one to Sirius's neck to anchor his mouth and another to his hips to anchor him closer. They both moaned at the contact even through their pajama pants, and Sirius heard Remus cast the silencing charm and the protection charm when they broke the kiss long enough to catch their breaths and dive in again.
Closer,
Remus whispered again, and Sirius answered by pulling at Remus's pajama bottoms. Remus moved his hands, lifting his hips, Sirius giving him enough room to pull off his bottoms and pants, and Sirius moaned at the feeling of Remus completely exposed underneath him. He whispered the lubrication charm under his breath, barely breaking another kiss. Remus nodded as Sirius pressed 2 fingers in at one time, slowly arching his back, as Sirius broke away from his mouth to trail kisses along his jaw until Remus relaxed just slightly. When he tasted tears, Sirius looked up, finding Remus's eyes.
Never again, Moony, never again. My center, here, always.
Sirius whispered, before leaning down for another kiss. Remus clung to Sirius's neck and let his legs fall open, and Sirius took the invitation for what it was, removing his fingers and pushing inside. They breathed together for several long moments before Sirius began to move, resting his forehead against Remus's neck, then his cheekbone, then his forehead. Sirius got a hand between them and fisted Remus, who shifted a bit on the sheets, breathing heavily.
Yes,
Remus said.
I love you, I do, I always have.
He breathed.
I know, Moony, I know.
Sirius whispered, letting his tears mix with Remus's.
We will make it through.
He managed, nearly lost.
We always do together.
He whispered, and felt Remus come between them, following closely behind. They stayed tangled with each other for a long time, so long it became almost uncomfortable, until Sirius uttered the cleaning charm, adjusting them, still holding on to Remus tightly.
I can't undo the past, Moony, but I can do my best for the future,
he said quietly. Remus nodded, lacing together their left hands where their wedding rings clinked softly together.
Me too,
he said before they each drifted off to sleep. The beginning of October found Sirius, Andromeda, and Harry standing in the middle of the drawing room of Grimmauld Place.
Merlin.
Andromeda breathed. Sirius had mostly been keeping to the kitchen on his visits here, when he had agreed to use it for the order. The rest of the house he had mostly left to itself, and as he stood there now, he wondered how much of a mistake that was. Harry was gaping slightly.
This place, it's
a right bloody mess,
Sirius said.
If I had known.
Would you really have tried to fix it, or just let it continue to rot?
Andromeda asked shrewdly.
It probably deserves to rot, but that won't make this any easier.
Sirius sighed.
Should we split up?
Andromeda asked. Sirius considered.
We can take my mother's room,
he said to Andromeda.
I think if Regulus were trying to hide a Horcrux, among her jewelry might be a good place to start. Harry, you can try the attic, but anything, and I mean anything, seems off then.
I'll send up a flare or a Patronus, or come running, or even just bloody scream my head off,
Harry said.
Good lad,
Sirius said, clapping his shoulder. He thought for a moment.
Has anyone actually seen Creature? He usually manages to make himself scarce.
Last time I saw him, he was in the dining room when I arrived, polishing some real silver and muttering about half-bloods and dark creature lovers in his mistress's home.
Andromeda said.
Well, we can leave him to that for now,
Sirius said.
Harry, Andromeda, let's go look through some jewelry.
Sirius and Andromeda made their way to Walburga's room and to her dressing table, which was overflowing with jewelry. They sat on the floor, elegant jewelry boxes lined in front of them, any loose jewelry pulled from the drawers at their feet.
You know, there's probably a small fortune in here,
Andromeda said, opening up a box.
Well, if you see anything you'd like, feel free,
Sirius invited, picking up another box. Andromeda smiled.
I'm fine, thanks. Ted has very good taste.
She pulled some emerald earrings out of the box, studying them for a moment.
You might want some of this for Hope, actually,
she said thoughtfully. Sirius grimaced a bit, and Andromeda caught it.
What?
She asked. Sirius sighed.
I'm not sure Hope wants much from me right now.
He considered.
Well, nothing that I can give her anyway.
It had been 3 days since Hope had confronted him in their rooms, and she had been avoiding Sirius, and even more to Sirius's concern, Remus. He knew he needed to talk to her, but he was unsure what to say, and her avoidance was making it even more difficult. Andromeda looked at him inquisitively, but softly, and Sirius told her both of Hope's difficulty with the Patronus charm and about what she'd said to him in their quarters.
Oh, Sirius.
Andromeda said softly.
I am sorry.
Sirius shook his head.
She's right. Even Remus says she's right, at least to a certain extent. I'm not sure how to fix it.
I'm not sure there is any fixing it.
Andromeda said.
Also what Remus says.
Sirius said. He sighed.
She's getting older.
Andromeda said.
It's not an easy age for any girl.
Sirius nodded. Andromeda looked at him, letting a necklace dangle in her hand.
It hasn't been an easy age for you either.
She said.
Hope's a child, what she says.
Sirius started.
I don't mean about that. Not that that doesn't hurt. Not that that isn't hard to hear.
Andromeda said. Sirius tilted his head as he looked at her.
Remember Harry's party?
Andromeda asked. Sirius nodded.
Where are you going with this, Andromeda?
You didn't like that she's growing up. That she's bloody gorgeous, and you know she's only going to continue to grow into those looks. You said you weren't ready.
I'm not,
Sirius admitted.
Do you think that could be because you missed so much in the first place?
Andromeda said gently. Sirius opened another box, started to rifle through it, but didn't look at Andromeda.
You've been talking to Remus,
he said.
Yes, that.
Andromeda laughed.
I'm just saying you're both going through some growing pains with each other.
I don't want my little girl to disappear,
Sirius said softly.
Oh, Sirius. She'll always be your girl. I've seen you two together. I know that much.
Sirius looked up at her and shook his head.
I'm not so sure.
I am.
Andromeda said.
And so is Remus. Trust us.
She's scared to death of losing me,
Sirius said softly.
Because she lost me before. Remus said it to me, after the disaster at the Department of Mysteries, that if I had died, Hope would know what she was missing, that she'd know what Remus was missing. I think the part he got wrong is that she had already known what he had been missing. He just hadn't realized it. And I can't make any promises.
Sirius trailed off.
We're all scared of losing you, and you had a close call. I'm not surprised she lashed out. I was ready to throttle you myself, I'll admit.
Andromeda said. Sirius sighed.
What if it were you and Tonks?
I'd talk to her, but I'd also give her some space.
Andromeda shook her head.
But I would reassure her somehow, or try to.
She finished. Sirius nodded, picking through a pile of mostly bracelets. Andromeda took a breath, and Sirius looked up at it.
Do you think this is at all about a boy?
She asked. Sirius blinked.
What?
I mean, it's clearly about you, and the danger you're in, about how much she loves you. But the fact that she's been thinking about Remus, and you and Remus in particular.
A boy. You think she's interested in a boy?
Sirius managed. Andromeda shrugged.
Someone, I think. I think it also sounds like she's trying to figure out how to navigate a relationship, and how you two navigate yours.
Sirius thought.
She's always been protective of Remus, but...
He sighed.
Damn it.
Andromeda nodded.
She's so young,
Sirius said, and to his surprise, Andromeda laughed.
How old were you when you fell in love with Remus?
You shut your mouth, Andromeda.
Andromeda laughed harder.
I don't mean when you started to shag him, but I bet that was pretty early too.
Sirius shook his head, a rueful smile crossing his face.
14 at least, probably earlier,
he admitted. Andromeda raised an eyebrow. Sirius sighed.
Damn.
I'm not saying she's also met the love of her life, but I am saying, well...
She will not want to talk to me about that, or to Remus,
Sirius said.
She has her friends.
Andromeda hummed.
You know, she has a pretty cool cousin who I might be able to recruit if she needs a confidant.
She said.
Tonks.
Might help. Give her someone to talk to about anything, really.
Honestly, Andy, if you think Tonks would be willing to do it, I think that would be wonderful.
Andromeda nodded.
I'll talk to her when I get home,
she said. Sirius was about to reply with his thanks when sudden commotion erupted above their heads.
That does not belong to Harry Potter.
They heard Creature shriek and heard scrambling, though from Harry or Creature, Sirius couldn't tell. Andromeda was already on her feet and nearly to the door, Sirius on his feet after her. They made their way to the attic, where, to Sirius's horror, Harry and Creature were struggling, Harry finally breaking free as Creature started to sob.
That does not belong to Harry Potter,
Creature said.
It does not. That belongs to Creature, to Master Regulus. He gave it to Creature.
Creature lunged forward toward Harry again, and Sirius stepped between them.
Creature you are to stop reaching for Harry right now. That's an order,
Sirius said.
You filthy mudblood lover, you don't understand. You don't understand.
Creature said, shaking in front of him.
Then tell us,
Harry said gently.
I must not. I promised Master Regulus.
Creature sobbed.
Regulus. What does this have to do with Regulus?
Sirius asked. He took a closer look at Harry, who was searching out his face. Harry was holding, Sirius noted, what looked like a locket. Sirius gasped. Sirius turned to Creature.
Creature, I know what Regulus did. I know.
Creature looked at him.
You don't. No one does. I swore to Master Regulus.
Creature, I was there, at the cave. I saw the note Regulus left and the fake locket. I know what Regulus did.
To Sirius's surprise, this only made Creature more upset, his sobbing getting louder.
He sent Creature to help the Dark Lord, but then, when it went wrong, Master Regulus became so angry. He brought Creature back, had Creature take the locket, made Creature promise to hide it, not to give it up. Creature tried to destroy it as Master Regulus asked, but Creature could not.
You're how he got the locket off the island. How it got here.
Sirius said. Creature merely kept sobbing. Sirius watched Harry kneel down so that he was closer to eye level with Creature.
Creature, look at me,
Harry said. Creature had difficulty, but he obeyed, even without Sirius telling him to do so.
Creature, I need the locket. I need the locket so that I can finish what Regulus started,
Harry said slowly. Creature stopped sobbing, looking from Harry to Sirius to Andromeda.
You will honor Master Regulus.
Sirius made eye contact with Harry, looked at the locket in Harry's hand.
We will, Creature. We will. You have my word,
he said. Creature looked at Harry.
If you want, come to the next order meeting,
Harry said.
It should be soon. You can be there, when we finish what Master Regulus started.
For Master Regulus,
Creature said.
For Master Regulus,
Harry said solemnly, and Sirius nodded. 2 days later, in the kitchen at Grimold Place, surrounded by the Order and Creature, Harry took the sword of Gryffindor from Dumbledore's hands.
For Master Regulus,
he said before bringing the sword down onto the locket, which split in two, an eerie noise emanating from it.
For Master Regulus,
Sirius repeated, and Remus took his hand. For the October Hogsmeade weekend, Remus knew Tonks was meeting Hope to chat, and he hoped it was productive, for both Hope and Sirius's sakes. Not that he would have admitted it to either of them, but they were acting quite similarly, both avoiding each other and managing to make each other the biggest parts of each other's lives. Hope still hadn't come by their rooms much since the day she'd confronted Sirius, and she'd given up on her usual weekly lunch with Sirius altogether, standing him up more than once. Sirius, with the idea of trying to give her space, was determined not to confront her, but Remus privately wondered if his quietness was actually pushing her away. He was doing his best not to interfere, but it was difficult, as both of them were alternately snappy, sulky, or artificially talkative. From one of them, it would have been enough. From both of them, it was trying Remus's patience. The students had started returning to the castle when there was a knock on the door of their quarters, followed by a flash of bright pink hair.
Knock, knock.
Tonks said, and Remus smiled.
Come in.
Remus said. Sirius was on the floor with John, pushing a replica of the Hogwarts train down an elaborate set of tracks he had been building.
I don't want to interrupt,
Tonks said, letting herself in the rest of the way, closing the door behind her.
As if, 1, you'd ever be interrupting, and 2, we haven't been waiting for you all day,
Remus said.
Hiya, John.
Tonks said, briefly shifting her nose into a pig's snout, making John burst into delighted giggles. Tonks laughed too, dropping onto the couch next to Remus.
How did it go?
Sirius asked from his position on the floor.
Quite well,
Tonks said.
Hope is a delight.
With you, maybe.
Remus laughed.
There hasn't been much delightful about her, on our end lately.
Tonks shook her head.
Because you're her parents, please. You get all the garbage she won't show anybody else, and that's to your credit, I might add.
Remus looked at her.
Believe me, I know whereof I speak, and if you doubt that, flew mum right now, and ask what I was like at that age. I think I dated one boy just to try to make her angry.
Did it work?
Sirius asked.
Oh, yeah, sure did.
Tonks grinned.
Have her tell you about Elliot sometime. A Slytherin too.
A Slytherin say it isn't so.
Sirius laughed. Tonks laughed too.
Hope, well, she's incredibly intelligent, funny, bright, and Merlin doesn't miss a thing.
Remus shook his head.
No, she does not,
he said. Tonks shook her head.
I think that's probably your biggest problem.
Sirius sighed.
I thought as much.
Tonks nodded.
She knows more than she lets on, about the danger to Harry, to all of us, to the Order. She's worried about the Dark Lord, and she's downright terrified about losing one, or both of you, but especially you, Sirius.
Because of the incident with the locket?
Sirius asked. Tonks looked like she was thinking.
Yes and no. I think that scared her, but it was really just a trigger for her larger issues about you leaving again. Or not being able to be there for her. Objectively, Remus is in just as much danger, but while I think she understands that intellectually, emotionally, she's on more solid ground with Remus. He's the rock.
Tonks looked at them. Sirius sighed.
Any ideas on how to move forward?
No.
Tonks said, and laughed when Sirius sighed again.
You'll have to talk to her, though. You can't avoid each other forever, probably driving Remus round the twist.
Remus raised an eyebrow. He was reminded again that Tonks was an Auror in her own right.
Is it just me, though? Andromeda thought. Well, that there might be a boy.
Sirius said, and his mouth looked like he'd just eaten a lemon. Remus and Tonks both laughed at the expression. Tonks held up a hand.
Cousin-to-cousin confidentiality.
She started.
Of course,
Remus said easily.
But yes, there is.
Tonks laughed as both Remus and Sirius sighed heavily.
Is he oblivious?
Remus asked. He knew a little bit about pining himself. Tonks seemed to be thinking about it.
I don't really know. Maybe a few years ago I would have said yes, but now...
She thought.
I don't think he's probably as oblivious as Hope is afraid he is.
Oh, Godric, you know him.
Sirius said.
Confidentiality.
Tonks answered.
Who would she like that you know?
Sirius asked. Tonks shrugged casually and grinned.
This is going to keep him up at night now,
Remus observed.
You'd know him too then, Moony.
Sirius shot back, moving the train a little.
I know every student in the school.
Remus laughed.
That doesn't exactly narrow it down.
Is he in the order?
Sirius asked.
Even if he were, I wouldn't tell you.
Tonks said. Sirius groaned.
At any rate, as wonderful as this is, I have my own dinner date this evening.
Tonks said, standing.
Hope really is lovely, and I've told her to owl me or reach out any time, and I hope she does.
Sirius stood to hug her, and then moved to let Remus embrace her as well, but Tonks held on.
Talk to her, Sirius,
she said. He nodded. She let go, and Remus gave her a brief hug before letting her take her leave.
There's a boy,
Sirius said, settling back onto the carpet.
There's you.
Remus rejoined, using his wand to make smoke emanate from the train's smokestack, and John clapped his hands together. On Monday, Sirius caught Hope on her way to dinner. She actually made a move to go around him, but he stepped in her way, making her sigh.
I thought maybe we could have dinner together, in our rooms.
Sirius said lightly.
Will Dad be there?
Hope asked, as students began to file around them into the entrance to the Great Hall. Sirius shook his head.
He took John down to Hogsmeade for dinner, just us.
Then I'm not interested,
Hope said, going to turn away before Sirius put a gentle hand on her arm to stop her.
I'm asking, Hope, be interested. You can't avoid me forever,
he said softly. She looked at him, brown eyes searching his face. He felt her relent when her arm relaxed underneath his hand.
Okay,
she said softly.
Okay,
he said, leading the way to their quarters, listening to Hope's shoes clack on the floor behind him. The sound inexplicably made his heart ache. At dinner, Hope mostly pushed food around on her plate, while Sirius ate the roast and potatoes left by the house elves. He watched her speculatively, and she gave only the shortest answers to his questions about her classes or her friends. Finally, Sirius put down his fork.
Hope,
he began. She tilted her chin up.
I'm not going to apologize,
she said stubbornly. Sirius blinked.
I'm not going to ask you to,
he said. That seemed to bring Hope up short.
I thought.
I'm not happy with what you did, how you addressed me. Neither is your dad, for the record.
Hope nodded slowly.
But we both know, I know, that you were right. You had a point to make, and your dad backed you up. He talked to me more about what life was like with you when you were little, how it really was. And you're right. Hope, you didn't have much, and he gave you everything. And it was hard for him, missing me and raising you by himself.
Hope looked down at her plate.
If you are angry about that, it's okay. Even if it's me you're angry with,
Sirius said softly.
Dad did everything. Do you understand that?
Hope said.
He did so much, and I don't blame him for what he couldn't do. Do you understand that too?
Sirius nodded, hoping she'd continue.
Does he?
Of course, love. Of course he does. You are so much his girl. He'd never say this to you, but you saved him, you know. You're not responsible for him. Not then, not now, not ever. But without you. You were and are his joy, and always will be. and I would never take that from either of you.
Sirius said softly.
You weren't there.
Hope said simply.
No, I wasn't. And you're right, I should have been. But I can't change that or fix it. For him or for you.
Then I don't know what to do with that.
Hope said.
I don't either, love. It's part of growing up, having to acknowledge that things exist, and not everything is fixable. Most things aren't.
So, how did you and Dad fix it? I don't understand. I don't understand how he went through all he went through and still loves you. I don't understand. I think if I did, then I could too.
Hope said quietly. Sirius thought.
You may have to ask him. I only know what he's told me. But I'm not sure so much that we fixed it. I think that we realized the foundation was still there and tried to build again.
He says he never stopped loving you.
Hope answered.
He didn't. That's what he said. And him, not even in Azkaban. Maybe it should have given me the strength to leave, but it didn't. Not just because I was guilty about James and Lily, though I was, but because I could never, ever have imagined that he'd continue to love me, especially if he believed what the world said about me, which he did.
Hope looked up at him finally.
Do you think he really did?
Sirius smiled, because it was such a Hope question.
He says he did, but I have my doubts too.
Hope smiled at him a little bit.
I think if I had proved myself guilty or hurt you in any way, then yes, but…
Sirius stopped.
How does he do that?
Hope asked.
How does he keep going? Even when things are hard, he just keeps.
He does. He keeps going. He finds a way. Always has. That's Remus Lupin.
Sirius paused.
That's Hope Lupin too.
Hope looked at him.
Hope, do you not see that? When I appeared on the pitch, you just kept coming. When I was in the infirmary, you wanted to see me, even before you knew I was innocent. When I first went to Wales with you, you showed me everything, everywhere. You let me into your heart. You let me love you. When Umbridge used that quill on you, you didn't get scared. You got angry. You wanted what was right, for you and Harry and other students. At the Department of Mysteries, you kept going. You fought Bellatrix and threw that prophecy, because you just keep going. You welcomed John to the family, because you made room in your heart. You love so much, and you just continue to do so. It's a bloody miracle.
Sirius said.
Dad says I love like you.
Hope said.
You love like both of us, because you are from both of us, and it is the most amazing thing.
I'm so scared, Pads.
Hope admitted, pulling her lower lip into her mouth and biting it. Sirius stood, took the chair next to her, and took her hand, and she let him.
I know, my girl. Me too. And your dad. We're all terrified of what could happen to us. To Harry. Especially now. With the locket gone, he's going to come. We can't control any of it, except how to treat each other, to love each other as well as we can, as much as we can, while we can.
Finally, Hope collapsed against him, and Sirius pulled her into his arms.
I'm so sorry, Pads.
She said, and Sirius heard from her voice she was crying.
I love you, Hope. I think once, your dad told you to keep your heart open. So don't close it. Not now. Not to me, or your dad, or John, or Harry. And I can't promise you my safety, but I can promise you that your dad and you and John are my heart. The very center of it. Nothing will be more important ever again.
Hope shook her head against him.
Don't make promises you can't keep, please.
This one I will keep, Hope,
he said, brushing a kiss to the top of her head.
This one I can keep.
Remus came in a while later, as Sirius and Hope had settled into the couch, each with a paperback and a mug of hot chocolate. John was asleep on his shoulder. Remus met Sirius's eyes as he came through the door, and Sirius smiled. October 31st, 1997 dawned bright but cold. Remus found Sirius in the kitchen that morning, feeding John his breakfast.
Dad.
John exclaimed, reaching hands out to Remus. Remus laughed, kissing John on the cheek.
Why you insist on giving that child jam?
Remus started. Sirius turned from where he was pouring mugs of tea on the counter.
Because he likes it, Remus,
he said, exaggerating his bafflement. He handed Remus a mug.
It makes him sticky.
Remus protested, giving Sirius a kiss.
He's a baby, he's supposed to be sticky.
Sirius noted, placing eggs, toast, and beans on the table. He sat as Remus did, serving himself.
The LA meeting tonight?
Remus nodded.
After the feast?
Halloween was a touchy subject for them, had been for Remus for almost 2 decades, and he imagined just as long for Sirius. Sirius tended to want to be alone, and Remus thought a meeting of the LA would provide a perfect excuse.
I think I'm going to try Hope on a Patronus again,
he said. Sirius raised his eyebrows.
I think it's only fair for her to keep trying.
Remus said quietly. Sirius nodded.
I agree. I think she'll appreciate that.
Remus chewed, the expression on his face thoughtful.
The other students in that group have mastered it, so I thought I might move them on to something else. Move some other students toward it, including Hope.
Sirius nodded, smiling at him.
Sounds like a good plan, Mooney,
he said. If only things, as per their history, went to plan for them on Halloween. The Halloween feast had been going on just long enough for Remus to relax when three things happened simultaneously. The candles floating above the great hall began to shake in unison. Harry stood up and found Dumbledore's eyes at the head table, and Sirius burst in the back doors, holding John. At the sight of Sirius, Remus automatically stood up, and he noticed that Dumbledore had also stood, looking at Harry. The students, and much of the rest of the staff, were looking up at the ceiling, the celebration starting to shatter around them.
He's here,
Harry said clearly, his voice carrying across the room to Dumbledore.
They're coming, or they're here,
Sirius said, hurrying between the students.
The map, the Death Eaters, they are on the move, to here. They're gathering in the Forbidden Forest.
Remus found his eyes, and they were filled with dread. Remus tore his eyes from Sirius to Harry, who looked pale and grim but determined. The great hall started to shake in earnest, and the students began to cry out with alarm.
Students of Hogwarts, faculty, staff,
Dumbledore said, either charming his voice louder or just projecting it. It carried over the great hall, and most movement stilled.
Students, I hate to disrupt the Halloween feast, but I fear we have reached a grave, dangerous moment. Please evacuate to your house, where your heads of houses will meet you with further instructions. Heads of houses, faculty, staff, order members,
Dumbledore continued.
We will meet briefly in, I believe, Professor Lupin's classroom.
Dumbledore flicked his eyes to Remus, who nodded briefly.
Please move quietly and calmly to your appointed areas.
At that, the great hall undulated with the flood of movement, students rising from their tables. Staff at the high table also began to exit behind the students. Remus reached Sirius, whom he knew was waiting for him. Sirius gave him a quick, hard kiss that he returned.
My classroom,
Remus said, and Sirius nodded. They moved down the hallway quickly, McGonagall not far behind them, and Harry just ahead of them, when a familiar voice called out.
Dad, pads.
Hope called, coming quickly toward them.
No,
Sirius said, turning.
You were told to go to your house and await instructions. Go.
Pads.
Hope started. Remus noticed she was being trailed by other members of the LA, and he let out a sigh, one that Sirius heard. Sirius whirled on him at the sound.
She's 15. She's too young,
he said. Remus looked at Hope's determined face, glanced at Harry, who was still walking ahead of them to his classroom. He sighed again.
She's old enough to decide,
he said.
It will be a battle,
Sirius said hotly.
I know,
he said.
I know. What would you have done? Or me?
Remus saw the war on Sirius's face, watched the outrage, fear, love, and pride flicker across it.
I would have stayed,
Sirius said.
I would have stayed. So would you. So would have James and Lily.
Remus nodded. He turned to Hope and her friends, members of the LA, including Ginny, that were gathering behind her.
If you choose to stay, you may stay, but you are to follow instructions, and not on the front lines. Is that understood?
He watched as Hope nodded and saw the determination on her face. They entered Remus's classroom, which was already crowded and growing more so. The faculty and staff had gathered, as well as members of the Order who were already at the school, and other students, Hope, Ginny, Jasmine among them. Dumbledore flicked his eyes to Hope, then to Remus and Sirius in turn, and nodded just slightly before addressing the assembled crowd.
Sirius, you have intelligence.
Sirius nodded.
Yes. The Order map indicates that known Death Eaters are either on their way here or gathering here, using the Forbidden Forest as a staging area. It's Halloween. They've chosen Halloween.
He stopped and swallowed hard. Dumbledore inclined his head.
To recreate the night he should have been victorious, yes.
Dumbledore paused.
I have sent Patronuses to Order members, and they will be gathering here, either by flu or apparition. They can flew through my office, or to the apparition point in Hogsmeade. Madame Pomfrey, will you meet members at the gate? Let them in.
Poppy Pomfrey nodded. She turned and exited quickly.
Heads of houses, We are going to evacuate students as best we can. Those that can flew home will do so. I am leaving their evacuation to you. For other children who are too young or who are muggle-born and can't flew home, I have sent a Patronus and received one from Molly Weasley. She will take in children and students at the Burrow. Professor Lupin,
Dumbledore said. Remus looked at John in Sirius's arms and nodded.
John will go. Some of the other students, they want to elect to stay. We've given our permission for Hope. Ginny.
Not Ginny, Harry said sharply, turning.
Harry.
Ginny started.
No.
Harry said, his mouth in a firm line.
Arthur will be here soon.
Dumbledore interrupted.
If he gives his consent.
Remus saw Hermione and Ron look at each other, then at Harry.
Then I can stay.
Ginny said as if the matter were closed. Harry looked furious, but Ginny stepped forward, much closer into his space.
Harry.
She said, and Remus watched as Harry leaned forward, kissing her briefly and softly before taking her into his arms, pressing a kiss into her hair. Ron had looked away, but he had tears in his eyes, as did Hermione.
Then we have our instructions, heads of houses.
Dumbledore looked out at the faculty, who nodded, and they slipped out off to their students' living quarters.
The rest of us will begin to gather in the Great Hall. I must warn you, I expect this to be dangerous and perhaps decisive. If you feel like you need to evacuate as well, no one will think less of you.
No one moved.
Then we shall regroup soon. My best wishes to all of you. Harry?
Dumbledore said, and Ginny stepped away as Harry turned toward Dumbledore.
I'd like a word with you alone, before we gather with the others.
Harry nodded and stepped back. The rest of the assembled faculty, students, and order members began to leave the office, most heading immediately to the Great Hall. Remus and Sirius broke off toward their rooms in order to flew John to the Burrow, and Hope came with them.
I want to say goodbye.
She said simply, and Sirius nodded, looking grave. Once they reached their quarters in front of the fire, Sirius stopped.
I love you all so much,
he said. Remus ran a hand over his cheek.
And us, you,
he said, and they gathered together, tightly wound around each other for a moment. Slowly they disentangled themselves, and Sirius took a pinch of flu powder, calling loudly.
Molly Weasley, the Burrow, Ottery St. Catchpole.
Molly's face appeared in the fire almost immediately.
Sirius? Remus?
She said.
We'd like to evacuate John to you if we can.
Sirius said. Molly nodded.
I thought as much. I'll be happy to take the boy and Hope.
Hope will be staying,
Remus said, and to her credit, Molly did not look surprised.
I'm here. Send him through,
Molly said. Sirius placed a kiss to the top of John's head, Remus one to a cheek, and Hope one on his hand, before Sirius passed him through, and they watched Molly catch him, even through the distortion of the flu.
He's in good hands. Good luck,
Molly said, and she disappeared, no doubt to take even more children into her care. Remus, Sirius, and Hope stood for a moment silent in their home at Hogwarts.
Hope,
Sirius said, and she fell into his arms, letting him embrace her.
I can do this, Pads. I can.
She said. He merely squeezed and kissed the top of her head before saying,
I love you,
as he let her go.
Dad.
Hope said, and Remus encircled her, as if it were both the first and last time.
I love you, my girl,
he said, kissing her cheek before letting go. Sirius blew out a breath.
We're needed in the Great Hall,
he said.
Hope, you go on. We will catch up to you shortly.
Remus said, and Hope nodded, sparing them one last look before heading through the front door. Sirius was already shaking his head.
Moony, don't.
Remus reached out, placed a hand on Sirius's arm.
Padfoot, I love you. It has been the privilege of my lifetime to be your husband, to bear your family. I am so grateful you came back to us.
I'll always be with you,
Sirius said.
I love you, Moony. Thank you for Hope, for John, for you.
He leaned down and kissed Remus, and Remus felt it was the sweetest thing he'd ever tasted, or would know the honor of tasting. When they broke apart, Remus said,
Come, they are waiting in the Great Hall.
They started in that direction together, when a voice, loud and chilling, stopped them.
If you hand Harry Potter over to me by midnight, no one need be harmed.
Sirius gasped next to him, looked over at him in alarm.
No one is doing that,
Remus said.
No one,
he said firmly. The voice repeated itself, and Remus shivered. They moved to continue on, but as if summoned, a voice came from behind them.
Remus, Sirius.
Harry said, approaching them. It was otherwise empty in the corridor. Remus turned, and so did Sirius.
Harry,
Remus said. Harry took a deep breath.
I want you to come. I want you to walk me to the forest.
He said simply. Sirius gasped, and Remus felt his own mouth open.
Harry, no one is turning you in. No one will let them.
Sirius started.
I know.
Harry said softly.
I'm choosing to go.
Remus shook his head.
That won't stop him. He will continue to wage war on Hogwarts regardless. It's the seat of magic in the UK. It's as much his home as anywhere, Dumbledore.
Harry stopped him with a breath.
I know that too. That's not why I'm going.
Then why?
Sirius asked.
Because,
Harry said.
Because I'm the one he's after, and I'm a Horcrux. I'll need to.
Harry, no.
Sirius said. Harry tilted his head.
I have to go. I know the difference between walking into the arena and being forced into it. So do you. So did my parents. I'm making the choice.
Remus saw Sirius's eyes fill with tears through the tears in his own eyes.
Why us?
He asked.
Hermione and Ron.
Harry shook his head.
Hermione and Ron? They don't know. I want to spare them.
He took a breath.
And you're my family.
Harry said, his voice breaking. Remus looked over at Sirius, saw him take a breath.
Then we will go with you,
Sirius said simply. The walk to the edge of the forest was quiet. Despite the chill and the growing night, it was as if the creatures of the forest and those near it had fled in the face of the evil before them. They reached the edge of the forest, and Harry turned to face Sirius.
Sirius, thank you for giving me a home and your heart.
Sirius reached out and hugged Harry.
I love you, Harry. Always have, always will.
Harry nodded against his chest, and then he stepped away.
Remus, you've been the best teacher and role model I have ever had. Thank you for welcoming me into your family.
Remus embraced him.
I love you too, Harry. You will always and forever be part of our family.
Harry stepped away and nodded again, taking a deep breath. He reached into his pocket and drew out a golden snitch. He threw it up in the air once, twice, easily catching it. He smiled.
I've been playing with it since the summer. It's what Dumbledore gave me for my birthday.
He said.
He gave you a snitch?
Sirius asked, tilting his head.
And what's inside of it?
Harry answered, and he tapped a small switch on the side with his thumb. The snitch popped open to reveal a dark purple stone, dull, but somehow still beautiful.
He told me I would know when to use it. Now is the time.
Harry took the stone out, holding it between his fingers, concentrating on it.
What is it?
Remus asked, but Harry didn't answer, instead turning the stone over 3 times in his fingers. Remus saw light start to gather in front of them, and then he gasped, realizing what the light was.
Lily,
Sirius said.
James.
It's the resurrection stone.
Lily said, but she was smiling.
Mum?
Harry said.
Dad.
Oh, my beautiful boy.
Lily said, reaching out a hand, becoming more solid.
You have been so brave.
We are so proud of you.
James said, smiling.
You have grown into a brave, loyal, wonderful young man.
We love you so much.
Lily said, and James nodded.
And you?
Lily said, turning to Remus. Remus's eyes filled with tears again.
You've done so well, Remus. With Harry, with Hope, and John. Your family is so beautiful.
We are so proud of both of you too.
James said.
You found each other again. Your children, they're so special. Treasure them.
Prongs.
Sirius managed. James smiled.
Padfoot.
He answered.
We love you, all of you, always.
Harry took a breath.
Does it hurt? Dying.
He bit his lip as if he regretted even asking it already, but James smiled at him softly.
It's faster and easier than falling asleep.
James answered.
You'll stay with me?
Harry asked.
To the very end.
Lily said, holding out her hand. Harry dropped the stone in the leaves of the forest and went to take Lily's hand, walking further, with James and Lily beside him. Remus and Sirius stood there for a long time, longer than Remus could keep track of, before there was a bright flash of green light and a loud bang.
Harry,
Sirius cried out, dropping to his knees. Remus didn't even try to stop the tears, not his nor Sirius's, merely dropping to his knees too and folding Sirius into his arms. They stayed like that for long minutes, Sirius's sobbing loud in the silence. Remus put his forehead on Sirius's shoulder, drew a breath.
Padfoot, we have to go.
Harry.
Sirius answered.
I know.
Remus said.
I know.
He took a shaky breath, blowing out tears.
But we have a daughter at the castle. Our daughter.
Remus felt Sirius's shaking start to slow.
Hope.
Sirius.
Hope?
Remus answered. They stood slowly, walking back to the castle alone, hand in hand. As they approached the castle, the pandemonium was evident. Some Death Eaters must have still been in the forest, but many were already at the castle, or had made their way there, dueling with staff or order members. Sirius drew his wand, saw Remus do the same. The knights and other statuary at the castle had been activated, and they too were fighting, pushing Death Eaters across the grounds. Sirius did a quick sweep with his eyes, no hope. He found Minerva close by, fresh from dueling Dolohov.
Hope.
He asked her, but Minerva shook her head.
Still in the Great Hall, I think. We are trying to stage students in the castle. Last resort if they make it there.
She stopped, fired off a spell at Crouch Jr. Sirius nodded, Remus fast on his heels.
What's the plan?
Remus asked.
We do our best to hold them off,
Sirius said, and Remus nodded.
But we don't separate,
he said, stopping suddenly, looking at Remus.
You and I, we don't.
It may make more sense for us to, so that if one of us...
Remus started. Sirius shook his head.
If we must, we must, but we don't do it on purpose. We're in this together, Moony,
Sirius said. There was a laugh to his left, and Sirius's blood chilled at the sound. He turned.
Bellatrix,
he said.
How sweet of you, loyal to your beast of a mate to the last.
Bellatrix said, firing off a bright light. It looked like the Cruciatus to Sirius, and he dodged. Sirius threw a curse back, Stupefy, and Bellatrix cut it off in the air with her wand.
Crucia?
Remus said, firing, and it hit its target, Bellatrix falling to her knees, screaming. Sirius gaped at him.
I meant it. She nearly killed my daughter and you,
he said.
Come,
he said, charging up the grounds. They fought nearly back to back as they tried to make their way to the Great Hall. It was slow going. More and more Death Eaters began to come from the forest, the dark sky lighting up with spells. Moody took out Crouch Jr. with a blast of green light, then turned to Sirius.
We fight to kill,
he said, and Sirius nodded. Still, as he and Remus approached the entrance to the castle, he saw that they were all being beat back, the order members falling into ranks around the castle.
Sirius, Remus.
Hermione said, turning to them on the steps.
Where's Harry?
She fired a spell at a Death Eater, who parried, and Hermione sent out a Protego. Sirius shook his head at her.
Not now,
he said.
But.
She started, and Ron appeared next to her.
Harry,
he said.
Harry's gone,
Sirius said simply, firing off a spell at Rookwood, who was closing in on Remus. Hermione looked shocked.
But he...
Sirius shook his head, made his way up the stairs. They fought in the foyer, moving toward the Great Hall, much to Sirius's alarm. He saw two black heads out of the corner of his eyes, his mind casting back to the Department of Mysteries, but this time it wasn't Hope, but Andromeda, who was dueling Bellatrix, her sister. Sirius saw Tonks come up closer as well, hair still bubblegum pink.
No.
Andromeda said, firing off spell after spell matching her sister.
Another half-blood daughter?
Bellatrix laughed, sending out a body bind that Andromeda cut off in midair.
So do love seeing those in the family?
She said. Andromeda's wand hand whipped out almost faster than Sirius could follow.
Avada Kedavra,
she said, and it met its mark, Bellatrix falling to the stone with a thud.
Andy,
Sirius said, gasping. Andromeda looked at him, clearly shaken, but with clear eyes.
We fight to kill,
she said softly, and Tonks came up, embraced her briefly. They broke apart as a voice boomed up the grounds toward the steps in the foyer. Sirius, Remus, Andromeda, and Tonks all came back outside.
You've been asking for your vaunted hero,
the voice said, Voldemort striding towards the ground up the steps.
Here he is, as he got what he deserved for fleeing for his own life.
Sirius gasped to see Hagrid carrying a limp Harry in his arms.
No,
said Minerva, taking a step forward. Sirius sought Remus's gaze and found it, Remus's face grim. Those who had been behind them in the Great Hall, including Neville, Ginny, and Hope, started to gather on the steps as well.
Harry,
Hope said, her voice breaking on a sob. She launched herself at Remus, who caught her. Ginny was muttering,
Harry, Harry, Harry.
Arthur, a tall, pale figure behind her, Fred and George coming up as well.
Put him on the ground, so all can see what happens to cowards,
Voldemort said. Hagrid did as he was bid, placing Harry on the top step of Hogwarts.
Harry Potter was no coward. Not ever.
Ron shouted. Hermione took his hand. More Death Eaters had followed Voldemort up from the forest. Sirius could see, including Peter Pettigrew.
All of you should end this fight,
Voldemort said.
If you come out of the castle and kneel before me, you will be spared.
No one moved a muscle.
You would die for your coward,
Voldemort said, and Nagini, who was slung around his neck, lifted her head and took in the crowd. Sirius shuddered.
We will not kneel for you, Tom.
A voice came from behind them, and Sirius knew it was Dumbledore.
So they will hide behind you instead, as the Potter boy did, for so many years.
Harry hid behind no one.
This time it was Neville who shouted and took a step forward.
We will fight. For goodness. For Harry. For the Order. For the LA.
Neville continued and he began to charge. Sirius winced as Voldemort reached a hand out and disarmed Neville with a wordless spell and a bang, sending Neville to his knees.
Neville Longbottom,
Voldemort said.
You're a pure blood. You belong with us. Join us now, and no harm will come to you or those you love,
he said.
Never.
Neville breathed, getting to his feet.
Then, my boy, we should sort you properly.
Voldemort held out a hand, and suddenly the sorting hat flew through the front doors and into Voldemort's hands.
There will be no need for this anymore, as Slytherin will be the only proper house at Hogwarts now, when I am in charge. This is what will happen to those who oppose me,
he said, suddenly reaching out a hand and grabbing Neville by the arm, pulling him close. Neville struggled, but Voldemort was stronger, forcing the hat onto Neville's head and setting it on fire. Neville began to scream.
No,
a voice said, and Sirius caught the oh-so-familiar cadence of it. Hope's. Sirius turned in time to see her step away from Remus, throw out her wand arm.
Expecto Patronum,
Hope cried, and Sirius was surprised to see light shoot out of it, then take shape, a wolf like Remus's. It bounded down toward Neville, knocking into him enough that he stumbled, even with the hat on his head out of Voldemort's grip. Neville reached up, took the hat off himself, and threw it to the ground as Hope's Patronus dissipated. He took a great gasping breath before reaching inside, drawing out the sword of Gryffindor.
For Harry, for Hogwarts, for all who have ever opposed you,
Neville shouted, swinging the sword. It cut through the air, making contact with Nagini, lopping off her head, which fell to the stone steps with a sickening thud. Suddenly, several things happened at once. Voldemort cried out in rage, but he continued to advance on Neville, who swung the sword in front of him, as if expecting a charge. The crowd began to fall back or forward into the castle, toward the Great Hall. Sirius found Remus's eyes, and they fell back too toward the Great Hall, but not before Peter Pettigrew bounded up the stairs.
Padfoot,
Peter said.
Peter.
Sirius answered, watching as Remus pushed Hope toward the Great Hall, covering his back.
We meet yet again,
Peter said, smiling a twisted, ugly smile.
For the last time,
Sirius said.
I certainly hope so, Padfoot. I'm so damn sick of you,
Peter said, firing off a body bind. Sirius easily dodged, parrying with a protego to buy himself some time. But Remus wasn't retreating, was instead indeed covering his back, firing curses at other Death Eaters who approached. Sirius fired off a body bind spell himself as Peter advanced, pushing him up the steps and into the foyer. Sirius fired again, this time a stupefy, aimed at Peter's lungs. Peter caught it on his wand, tried to send it back, but Sirius dodged, and so did Remus. The spell missed them and hit a Death Eater who fell to the ground. Sirius and Peter continued to duel, firing spells back and forth. Finally, as they reached the entrance to the Great Hall, Sirius threw his wand arm out again. He tried Stupefy again, aimed at Peter's heart. This time, he hit his target, and Peter fell to the ground, mouth and eyes wide open, unseeing. Sirius blew out a breath, putting his hands on his knees. He felt a hand on his back, Remus's.
For James and Lily,
Remus said softly.
For all of us, for Hope, to keep us safe,
Sirius said, and Remus nodded. They entered the Great Hall together, and it was complete chaos. Death Eaters were everywhere, dueling faculty, order members, and the students who had stayed. Sirius charged, Remus with him, firing off curses and spells. He was sweating from the effort, but he saw the Death Eaters were sorely outmatched, both in numbers and strength. He watched as Death Eater after Death Eater fell to an order member, and he almost took a breath. But then he saw Dolohov charge Remus, who attempted to fire off a body bind spell that Dolohov dodged, bringing his wand up.
No.
Sirius shouted, but Remus was just out of reach.
Protego.
A voice shouted, and suddenly a shield cast out not just over Remus, but over the entire room, all the fighters present.
Harry?
Sirius breathed as Harry threw off what had to be the invisibility cloak.
Potter,
Voldemort said, standing in the center of the hall.
Tom.
Harry replied, stepping forward. There were shouts and gasps around the room, but Harry shook his head.
I don't need help. I have to be the one who finishes it. Let me.
Sirius felt Remus come up next to him, take his hand.
he'll use you all as a shield, as he always does,
Voldemort said. Sirius watched Dumbledore from where he was standing near the high table. He looked proud, but wary.
Hardly. Tom Riddle.
Harry said.
In fact, they are all protected by me. By my mother, really. The protective charm she cast over me all those years ago, this very night, now protects them. She lives on, you know, in me, always.
Voldemort sneered.
Next, you will tell me that love protects you, but did it protect her 16 years ago? It didn't stop her from dying.
Sirius gasped.
No, it didn't,
Harry said.
But it stopped me from dying that night, and it kept me strong tonight, and ever since, it kept my heart open, so that I could find a family when I needed one. My friends, Hermione, Ron, the one my heart calls for, Ginny, my new parents, Sirius and Remus, my sister and brother, Hope and John.
Love will not save you, boy,
Voldemort said, bringing up his wand.
I rather disagree, Tom. It already has. Even Neville's and his love for his parents and others. You know he killed your last Horcrux.
Voldemort blinked.
Oh, is that a surprise to you?
Harry asked.
You killed me, and you killed the one you buried in me. We had destroyed the rest already. Neville killed Nagini. I had a choice, to continue on to death, or to return. I returned, so I could continue to love. I chose life for the right reasons, not immortality.
Harry finished.
I will kill you anyway, Potter,
Voldemort said.
Avada Kedavra,
he said. But Harry at the same time clearly said,
Expecto Patronum.
And this time, both a stag and a doe leapt from his wand, hitting the killing curse midway, throwing it back toward its caster. It hit Voldemort in the chest, and he fell, without any preamble, onto the floor, where he remained still. Harry inclined his head at the Patronuses and smiled. They bowed, and then disappeared. There was silence in the great hall before noise erupted from seemingly every corner. Cheers and shouts. Any remaining Death Eaters, and there were few, were quickly rounded up by McGonagall, Snape, and Flitwick. Dumbledore came down from his place near the table and shook Harry's hand, who grinned.
Harry?
Ginny said, throwing herself at him. He caught her easily, picking her up and spinning her off the floor. He pressed a soft, quick kiss to her lips before Hermione and Ron were there too, Harry releasing Ginny and catching both of them in a hug. Sirius sat down on a bench, hard watching them.
He did it. He did it, Padfoot.
Remus said quietly, sitting next to him.
He did. He really did. That boy.
Sirius said, remembering 16 years ago, and the boy crying in his crib, watching the 17-year-old version of him, surrounded by those he loved, including Hope, who had come in for her own hug.
That boy.
Remus agreed. He put out a hand, gripped Sirius's chin, and turned his head.
Our boy,
he added, leaning in. Sirius kissed him with all he had, all the fear and the relief, and the carefully bubbling joy that he was sure was going to overtake him slowly in the next few days.
Remus, Moony, we made it. We all made it,
he said as they broke apart, and he was surprised to find he was crying. Remus smiled gently, wiping away one of Sirius's tears with the pad of his thumb.
We did,
he said.
We did.
And then Sirius looked up and saw that boy filling his vision.
Sirius,
Harry said, and Sirius stood embracing him. They stood for a long moment, Sirius's eyes closed tight, just feeling the weight and warmth of Harry in his arms again. Gradually he let go, and Harry switched to Remus, and Sirius found his arms full again, this time with his daughter.
Hope, Hope, love.
He said. He breathed in the scent of her hair, lilac.
You were magnificent.
I did it, Pads.
She said. Sirius laughed a little.
Yes, love, you did. Oh, Godric, you did. I love you, my heart.
Hope pulled away a little, this time looking to Remus, who had let go of Harry and was waiting for her. She launched herself into his arms, and he held on tightly, making Sirius's throat burn with tears.
A wolf?
Remus asked, and Hope laughed.
If Harry's can be a stag, mine can be a wolf.
She said, and Sirius saw Remus bury his tears in her hair.
It's my honor, love.
Remus managed. They finally parted, and Sirius saw Remus not even try to hide his swiping at his tears.
What memory did you use?
Sirius asked, curious. She shot him a gentle smile.
You, in our kitchens here, promising me that we would always be at the center of your heart. I knew that was true.
She said simply.
Oh,
Sirius said, and then he was the one swiping at tears. Sirius heard a throat clear behind them, and looked as Hope and Harry turned around to face Neville Longbottom.
Neville,
Harry said, hugging him.
thank you. You were so brave, and it made all the difference.
Neville looked down, cheeks slightly flushed, as Harry released him.
I only did what needed to be done,
He said. He looked up again, this time at Hope.
Hope, thank you. If you hadn't.
He stopped.
I couldn't let that happen.
Hope said.
I just couldn't.
Neville nodded.
Still, thank you.
He looked down again, then glanced over at Sirius and Remus with a look on his face that Sirius couldn't decipher.
Neville
started.
Oh, well, damn, okay.
He stuttered before gently reaching out a hand to cup Hope's cheek, pulling her closer to him and kissing her gently. Hope sighed a little against his mouth, a small, happy sound.
Oh,
Remus said.
A boy,
Sirius said. Harry looked over at them, amusement clearly broken out on his face.
Not as oblivious as she thought he was.
Remus repeated, shaking his head. Harry grinned.
How long have you known about this?
Sirius asked him, raising an eyebrow.
For a while, and I got it from both sides.
Harry laughed.
Let them figure it out on their own, though. Did give him the "that's my little sister" talk.
Good man,
Sirius said. Neville and Hope parted, but they were each smiling at the other.
You're in trouble,
Harry observed, but he sounded so light and happy and so very normal that Sirius smiled in response.
Same as ever,
Sirius agreed.
The best kind,
Remus said, and he took Sirius's hand. They had Christmas in Wales that year, packing the house to the brim, full of family and friends. The Weasleys, the Tonkses, Neville and his grandmother. Even Dumbledore, Moody, Minerva, and Poppy Pomfrey popped in at certain points to eat Molly's Christmas goose, or drink Sirius's party punch, or play with John's new trains. It was growing late into Christmas Day, and the kids had pushed the furniture to the sides of the room, making an impromptu dance floor. Sirius and Remus were sprawled on the couch, John asleep on Remus's chest, Sirius's finger held in his hand. They watched the young people on the carpet, as the music turned from fast songs to slow songs, as they twirled each other and their partners, trading partners with laughing and spinning. The song now was slow, a rendition of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and they were slow dancing, Hermione and Ron, Harry and Ginny, and Hope and Neville. Andromeda, Ted and Tonks were also still there, sitting together on the other sofa, Andromeda happily tucked into Ted's arm.
You want to join them?
Remus asked, indicating the dance floor. Sirius thought for a moment, looking at John asleep on Remus's chest.
No, let them have this,
he said.
Besides, I'll take you upstairs and dance with you later,
he said, and he had the satisfaction of watching a light blush dust across Remus's nose and cheeks.
Only if you promise,
Remus said, picking up Sirius's free hand and kissing his knuckles.
I promise,
Sirius said.
Always.
And he pressed a kiss to Remus's lips, feeling the warmth and promise of Remus's own in the response. Finite. Thanks for listening to this text-to-speech podfic composed by Burning Aurora, Kaliana, and Flowerhawk.